Alrighty, well, welcome to this week's Talk Ask Us Anything. I thought it was a big week last week, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, Tesla-wise. We'll all remember last week that we were talking about Tesla's impending quarterly results or Q4 earnings call. How did that go, Pete?
Look, I actually, depending on where you're coming from, if you're coming from a trader's perspective and you're long prior to the earnings results, then not so good. But that's a common thing. Tesla usually declines on most earnings results, so it's a case of buy the rumor, sell the fact. But if you're a long-term investor in Tesla, then I think it was a very good result. So there was some. The gross margin was a bit lower than, and the operating margin, some of the margins were a bit lower than one would hope for, but that was later clarified on the earnings call, which was good. So most of that was attributed to one-off items. So yeah, as a long-term investor, I thought it was a great result. And, considering that most of the year, where Tesla was battling the pandemic, other legacy automakers would have killed for a result like that. So no, overall, I think it was a great result.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most telling things is, as Pete said, in a pandemic year, Tesla did what most other companies didn't, which was dramatically improve their productivity, to improve their market share, improve their turnover, improve the number of cars, increased number of cars sold by, well, I think they produced almost as many cars last calendar year as they did in most of their entire existence, which is a massive effort. And yeah, as Pete said, there were a couple of technical reasons in that quarter that some analysts didn't like it, such as I think it was their gross margin on vehicles, but as it was explained at the actual call, a lot of that was due to one-off reasons. Some of it was actually logistics, and there were, I think, like a few components shortages. There was a mention of some of the semiconductor components were a bit harder to get. And having sort of been in that game myself, I know that then what can happen is your logistics to actually get components that are a bit late and you need to sort of freight them quicker can be quite expensive. So yeah, overall, it was a pretty interesting earnings call. Something that made it a bit more interesting was the fact that there was something else that happened, and that was that Tesla decided to reveal the new Model S and X, which has, as everyone sort of knew and predicted, has got the horizontal screen. And thankfully, it's got a binnacle, which is pretty cool. That is not the battery pack. The actual exterior has changed very little. There's just the front air dam has slightly changed. I think the Model S now is one of the slipperiest cars in the world. It's got a drag coefficient of, I think it's 0.208, which is one of the lowest around. The back diffuser's also changed slightly, but yeah, the big thing is the big horizontal touchscreen, which obviously makes watching YouTube. Speaking of which, big shout out for Damon, Joe, Seb. Thanks for watching later, and also Netflix. I think Tesla announced that the media control unit and actually game unit now has something like about I think it's 10 or 11 teraflop capacity power in its processing, which is similar to the PlayStation 5, I believe. Controversially, they've got a steering yoke, which also has force touch buttons. So you can see there's no stalk. So the indicators are actually force touch buttons. You've also got, presumably that's high beam. And then you've got voice wipers. And I'm not even sure what that other symbol is, but anyway, that's
autopilot,
the horn.
that one. Yeah.
Is that,
Oh, horn. Yeah.
yeah, the
Wasn't
horn.
one of them autopilot as well?
And yeah, perhaps that one's there looks a little bit like, well, that looks like TAC actually. Looks like cruise control. But
Oh,
perhaps if you double tap that, you might get autopilot. They've yes, the other thing they've got too is the linear air vents like the Model 3s and Ys, which is pretty cool, literally and metaphorically. And the back, these are both Model S's and X's have got a third screen for a gaming screen, and presumably it can also do movies and videos and other things. And that also apparently has a linear aircon vent as well, so that now they've gone to a tri-zone air conditioning system. So you've got left-hand side, right-hand side for the fronts, and one zone for the rear passengers. This is actually the Model S, which has a fold-down armrest. The cool thing is it's got two Qi wireless phone chargers, as well as the cup holders. That's a better view of the rear excuse me, gaming screen.
So kids can wire up, or not wire up, their wireless controllers and
Yes.
play games even while the car's driving, which is pretty good.
That's
and that's
right.
that's an 8-inch screen, that one, for the rear, with USB-Cs underneath, as you can see.
Yeah, so USB-Cs there. So that's,
and the main screen it's still a 17-inch screen. So the S and X had 17-inch screens, which were 2 inches larger than the Model 3. But not only is it horizontal, but you can swivel it towards the passenger or the driver. But you can angle it towards one way or the other.
Yep. There's just another image of the front dual wireless chargers for phones. That image, they're basically talking about the sound system. I think it was 22 speakers off the top of my head for the Model S. I think the X might get 1 or 2 more than that. Plenty of storage in the back in the Model S. In fact, all these images are basically around the Model S. I've also got the Model Y set of images.
While you're pulling that up, Harold,
Yes.
that bike in the boot, that reminds me, on Sunday, we put a bike in the back of a Model 3. We had to take the front wheel off, but it fit beautifully with plenty of space. So
nice.
Yeah, there's actually more room in the cars than you would think.
Yeah, awesome, nice. Okay, so this looks the same, but this is actually the Model X, and you've got this is the 5, 6, or 7 seat packaging, which is very similar to the current model. Again, a different rear diffuser, new wheels. This is for I think these must be the 22-inch. I feel they're not Uber turbines, but they call them something interesting. Now the front view, rear view. Again, you've got the huge 17-inch horizontal touchscreen with your same ventilate HVAC, same rear seat access, Qi charger in the front. Like I said, I think there might be 1 or 2 extra speakers. And I think there was an image. Yeah, see, most of the structure is identical. You've got a tow pack as well. Now somewhere here I've got, actually it'll be on the other one. They've changed the battery pack. Unfortunately, I thought that they would have gone to 4680s for the whole range of models, but sadly or variants, but sadly they haven't. Elon Musk, he didn't directly explain it, but he basically said that rather than trying to make all the battery suppliers, because bearing in mind that the Model X and S battery cells are actually produced by Panasonic in Japan, so they're not actually produced in the States or at the Gigafactory, and he basically explained that they can't really afford to mandate a standardized battery format at the moment, because that would actually interrupt the battery production process for their external suppliers. So Tesla judged it better to simply maintain the cells that they can get and just keep buying them, albeit with updated chemistry. Now the actual battery pack this is the new one. And if I should be able to get the old one. There it is. So this is the old one, which actually had 14, actually I think it was 15 or 16 modules. So where you see these rectangles, that's 14, but I think up here there are an extra 2 that they squeezed in. And you can see this is where it actually plugs into the car. So these are structural packs that are self-supporting, and they actually just have fixings that go along the sides, and they basically plug into the car and can unplug from the car within seconds if done correctly. Now you compare that with the new pack. This is more like what the Model 3 and Y has, which is, it seems like they may have changed it to 4 modules, which is what Model 3 and Y do. Because you can see these sort of like column or, well, rows that naturally sort of look like the modules are in a lot of 4. And interestingly, the actual plugging position has changed. It's moved towards the back of the car, which is sort of interesting. But yeah, most of the other images of the features of the X are basically the same as the current version, albeit, you know, you've got the difference with the mainly the interior refresh, which basically did everything that Tesla, you know, wanted to do. Disappointingly, for Australia and well, Europe for that matter, where we have CCS2, these cars look like at this stage they're not going to get that set up for the charge port door. So unlike the Model 3, where it basically lifts up vertically, these things just pivot to the side, and you can't actually fit a full CCS to plug into it. You've got to use a physical adapter, which is a bit of a pain. One of the controversial things that Tesla did with the new release, apart from increasing the price, was also dramatically increasing the delivery timeframe. So interestingly enough, in last week's Ask Us Anything, we had spec'd up a Model S for Ken, actually, who might be hopping on later on, and mainly jokingly doing it to say, look, you can order one right now. This was the previous version, and it said that the delivery timeframe was March. And then about half a dozen hours later, they changed that time frame to, well, they described it as 2022. So there are no Model S's, new ones, and no Model X's will be arriving into Australia until sometime in 2022. Europe's not quite as bad off. They are expecting some in September, with the Plaid Plus Model S, I think at the end of the year. But all of our variations are due to come, according to Tesla, sometime in 2022, which is a bit disappointing, to say the least. But so hopefully, I don't know if any of you people here have got an S or X on order, but if you do, you're going to have a long wait, unfortunately. The other interesting thing too is, I'll just bring up Tesla.com, because there's actually a bit of a shortage of Model 3s at the moment. And we were told a couple of days ago that once the existing inventory of Model 3s are exhausted, and I'll just bring up that page, there'll be no deliveries until about June at the earliest. Oh, wow. So there are none. Wow.
Oh, really?
They went quickly.
Yeah.
There were about I thought there were about 16, if not, no, sorry, I think, or maybe it was 21 or 18 Model 3s that were in transit and were available, and now there's nothing. So they're hoovered up. So anyone looking for to order a new 3, you're not going to get deliveries until June, unfortunately. And needless to say, there are no Model S's and no Model X's. And even in the used, you've got one Model X, no Model 3s, and 2 Model S's that are quite old. But I think their prices sort of gone up a little bit because they're a little bit rarer these days. So there you go. A lot of Tesla news. Anything else that happened, Pete or Richard or John or Brian?
So I was watching a interview, that Clubhouse interview with Elon Musk, and he mentioned, I think it was in that one. Yes, it was in that one, where he mentioned not only did he confirm the 50% per annum growth rate in deliveries, but he suggested that may start accelerating, which is pretty big news.
Yes, because it's funny because I think a lot of analysts sort of scoffed at Elon Musk when he did say that, you know, we're going to keep growing at 50% every year. And, you know, some analysts would sort of poo-poo it and say, oh, well, that means by, 2030, you're going to have to produce 20 million cars. And it's like, well, I think Elon Musk...
That's what we're aiming for.
Sorry? Yeah, that's right.
That's what we're aiming for. Yeah.
And he's basically said that's what's required to push the needle towards, more EVs or more vehicles transitioning to sustainable energy. And
so at the moment, I think globally we produce about, 80, 90 million cars, something like that.
Yeah, so it's pretty extraordinary that, Tesla, and I think they grew by 58% this year. So, there's living proof. And we've got the gigafactories in Germany and Texas that, haven't produced a single car yet, but, by the end of this year, they will be. So that's pretty interesting for Tesla. Hey, welcome all the new people. It's awesome to see you. Have you got any burning questions? Have you just gotten your cars, or you've got cars on order? If you've just received them, just pipe up and tell us about your experience.
Chris and Kathy's car. We ended up picking up just after Christmas, I think, or just before Christmas, Model 3 long range. We do a lot of travel. We have offices up in Geraldton and down in Albany, and we do a lot of travel. And yeah, just find the car absolutely amazing. I must admit, I'd probably end up driving it a little bit more than Kathy. I drive it a little bit faster than what probably Kathy does, and the people in the Porsches that Kathy actually beats off the actual traffic lights are a little bit embarrassed, I must admit. And yeah, I find it absolutely amazing car. Seriously looking at waiting to see what's coming out this year. I think a lot of EVs are coming out this year, and with the possibility of getting something different. It's a different mindset from our point of view in regards to trying to actually understand where do we go to get charges. I mean, we've got PlugShare, we've got all the other bits and pieces, and I'm slowly going into that, but just trying to understand the different types of connections. Like in Badgingarra, I think there's a 32 amp power point sitting in a park somewhere, or in an oval. The charger that comes with the Tesla unfortunately doesn't have a 32 amp connector, which I'm trying to source one at the moment. All that sort of stuff at the moment. It's just very, very different trying to actually understand. I think you guys up in Geraldton have at the local Iceworks, a charger up there, all that sort of stuff. So it's actually quite fascinating from that point of view. But love the car.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we sure do. So I've just brought it up there on the screen. So that's our 50 kilowatt charger. At the moment, I wouldn't call it playing up, but I've got to get up there sometime once travel is permitted. at the moment, what it does is when you go into the Next Charge app, which is what you use to activate the charger and obviously pay for charging, bearing in mind that all the payments go straight to Golden West Ice just to pay for electricity that we're using, because they're allowing us to host it there for free, which is very generous of them. At the moment, when you look at it on the Next Charge app, it shows it as being unavailable because it's occupied. But what you do is if you just click on the CCS icon anyway and just hit start charge, it will just start charging. What I think it is because this thing, most tritiums are normally got a CCS, which is what your car has, and they also have a CHAdeMO plug. We actually ordered it without the CHAdeMO because the Teslas don't use CHAdeMO, and it was slightly cheaper that way. But I think what's happened is I had something in the actual holder part that would normally hold the CHAdeMO plug, and I think that's come out. So the flap is indicating to the charger that the CHAdeMO, it thinks the CHAdeMO plug is unplugged, and therefore I think it's indicating that the station is busy or occupied. So I did note someone did say that on PlugShare, but they pushed through and they actually noted that they could activate it anyway. With other chargers, speaking of Geraldton, of course, you've also got the Durian Bay, Caltex Durian Bay, which is also a tritium charger. So that's probably a preferable route to take than via Badgingarra, which, like you say, has a 32 amp 3-phase outlet.
So getting kangaroos though.
True. That is true. So you've got a long range, so you'll actually on a full charge you would basically almost make it to Perth, no worries, actually, from Geraldton in one leg, or at least, well, yeah, you would actually in a long range, you would. Model 3 definitely. So there you go. So yeah, there are lots of plugs. It can be a little bit of a daunting sort of thing. The most common, obviously, these symbol. The problem is PlugShare shows the incorrect actual plug, but supercharger is obviously the Tesla supercharger in Eaton. You've also got Tesla. This image, and again, the image is incorrect, because actually what our cars have is more like this, the Type 2, but Tesla is basically all the destination chargers. So they're the ones with what are called the HPWCs, the high power wall connectors, which are Tesla made or labeled chargers, and they actually have a tether. They have a cable with the plug attached to the actual charger, so you don't need any adapter for that whatsoever, nor for the supercharger. Now, if you come across a Type 2, that generally means, in most cases, it means untethered. In other words, there's no plug or cable attached, so all it has is a socket, effectively. So then you need a Type 2 to Type 2 cable, which, as a member of the club, you can borrow for free for road trips. So we have Type 2 cables for free. Now the 3-phase, yeah, that's correct. Tesla don't actually provide a native 3-phase plug that you can connect to your mobile connector, which is what's in the boot of your car. Which basically customarily has a 10 amp and a 15 amp plug. But you can actually purchase, we've actually got a couple that you can borrow for road trips that will plug into your UMC, and you can get 32 amps single phase from a 32 amp 3-phase socket. Then you've also got CCS. So that's what the Model 3s have, and S and X can use with a physical adapter. And they are the main plugs that are compatible with Teslas. The Type 2, you generally need a cable, and the 3-phase, you also need a plug or an adapter to connect to your UMC. You can also, the club also has a 32 amp 3-phase mobile charger, it's an inline device. It's basically got a plug at one end, a socket at the other, and it's like a little barrel which has the electronics that do the mediation between the car and, well, actually they tell the car what to draw, what current to draw from the plug. And we've got those for loan as well. With that, you can basically charge your car at 11 kilowatts, which is about 73 or 4 or 5 kilometers per hour from a 32 amp 3-phase outlet, but it only draws 16 amps 3-phase. So apologies if that's a bit heavy on the technical stuff, but as you stand, sorry, go on, Chris.
Sorry, I was just going to say, just out of curiosity, the actual charger that comes with the vehicle, if we were to use it in a well, obviously in a 10 amp, it's going to take forever. In a 15 amp, do we get more kilometers per hour? With a 32 amp single phase, do we get a lot more kilometers per hour?
Yep. So the 32 amp single phase, you'll get approximately 50 kilometers per hour. Okay. That's about 7.6 kilowatts. Say at home, have you got 3-phase at home or single phase?
Yeah.
3-phase.
About 11 or 12.
Yeah. So if you got the high power wall connector or an EVSE, and EVSE just stands for electric vehicle service equipment, but it's colloquially just a charger. You'll get 11 kilowatts, which is basically about 75 kilometers per hour. So for every hour you're charging, you'll get an extra 75. The 32 amp single phase, 50 kilometers an hour. The 15 amp plug actually provides 12 amps to the car. And for that you'll get about 15 kilometers per hour. So I mean, overnight, in 10 hours, you'll get 150 Ks, roughly. And the 10 amp is about 10 Ks an hour or so, maybe 11. So again, you'll sort of get about 100 Ks overnight quite easily, which is better than nothing. And it's perfectly okay. If you're there for a couple of days in some remote area or whatever, it's perfectly adequate. Unfortunately, the plugs only draw 8 amps for the 10 amp plug and 12 amps for the 15, because Tesla made an error and they presumed that in Australia you had to derate the plugs by 20%, which you don't. But in the States they do. So unfortunately they made that error, which they're finding difficult to correct for technical reasons. I think it's to do with approvals and labeling, but that's it. Any other questions about your car or anything? Any comments about it or?
Yeah. Hey guys, Matt here. I have an IT company. I'm based out of Broome, Karratha. I've got an office in Karratha and also Kununurra. So across the northwest. Bought my Model 3 in November, I think last year. Harold, I spoke to you on the phone a few times then.
Yes.
Thanks very much for your help there. I just thought I'd let you guys know we're planning a bit of a trip up to Kununurra from Perth. Triple M, the radio stations, which is actually Southern Cross Media, we've been working with them, and we're looking at doing a trip with the breakfast crew. I don't know these guys yet, but they're apparently 92.9, 94.5 and that down here. They're going to jump in and actually do a bit of a tour. It's a 10-day tour from Perth to Kununurra via Geraldton that you're just mentioning then, and also going through a lot of the Pilbara places. I guess what I'd like to do, Harold, at some point is, I know you've been around Australia. Was it 17 days that you did a lap in? Is that correct?
19.
19 days.
Yep.
Yeah. Look, I've done a bit up and down, done a few tanks down south and around, but still learning a little bit about this. I have to do some planning with them, meeting with some CEOs and managers, etc., early next week. So just love to be able to tap into everyone's knowledge about heading up the coastal road. What we'll need, try and, I guess I'm trying to plan this as carefully as possible. It's a lot of publicity for my company, and also for Tesla, and that's why I'd like to involve the Tesla Owners Club in this. Any suggestions, any thoughts, anything that anyone wants to put input into, please feel free to throw it in there.
Yeah, cool. I mean, the good thing is when I did it, there was no fast DC charger at Jurien Bay nor Geraldton. So my first day, I went to Carnarvon, and that's 907 Ks, and I spent 7 hours and 5 minutes of daytime charging, basically at Cervantes, Geraldton, Jurien Bay, Billabong Roadhouse, and then into Carnarvon. So that was a very long day. Doing it in November, the days are a bit longer, so I sort of got to Carnarvon just on dark. The main thing is when you've got fast DC charging, which you won't have, but let's say on your way to Geraldton, just do the speed limit, because you don't care about your economy as such, because the fast DC chargers replenish your energy at something like 300 Ks an hour in a Model 3. So you don't care about being efficient. But once you get past, say, Geraldton, then you've got to replenish all your energy with slow charging. Now, if it's overnight, again, it doesn't matter, because, 11 kilowatts or 7 kilowatts overnight is tons. Your car will be full in a few hours and you'll be sleeping, so it doesn't matter. The only issue is if, say, you've got a long leg where you've got to charge during the daytime, so you've got to top up and wait to get to your next destination. So some of the tricks you can do is just take, for every 10 Ks an hour you take off, you basically get about 15% or 14% better economy. So rather than doing the 110, if you do 100, this is only up north. If you're down south and you've got the supercharger or fast DC chargers, just ignore this, because just do the speed limit or whatever you're comfortable with. But yeah, unfortunately, Matt, if you're up north and you want to do a long leg, say 600 Ks or something, then you need to sort of slow down a little bit to get better economy, so that then you spend less time, you spend more time on the road, but less time on the side of the road. But what we'll do is we'll lend you one of our 16 amp 3-phase EVSEs, so you'll get the full 11 kilowatts to charge. So that way, when you go to all the 3-phase roadhouses and, well, towns for that matter, you'll get full rate, or the fastest AC rate you can get. But,
awesome. Okay.
But it's an awesome trip. So you're going to spend 10 days to get to Kununurra?
Yeah, so it's what they planned it as a camper trip. They had a couple of young guys that were going to do a bit like a Hamish and Andy type scenario. They're running from Perth to Kununurra. They're going to have a camper on the back. And look, it was only today this sort of eventuated, but I had a manager call me and say, look, because I was talking to them about the Tesla and bringing it into Broome and doing some radio talks, etc., in the Northwest. And she decided that maybe putting an EV through, on this tour instead of a camping trip might stir up a little bit more interest for the radio stations. So that progressed pretty quickly today, and then I've had an email tonight, so heading into on Monday to have a meeting. But so I'll have two guys in the car with me. They're going to have like a crew driving behind,
yep.
And they'll be recording and all the rest of it, and we'll be stopping in locations and
so how long are your legs then? Have you sort of mapped that out? So that sounds like you just do Geraldton on the first day and then Carnarvon.
Yeah.
Oh, not even. You wouldn't even have to go all the way to Carnarvon on the next day, because otherwise you're going to run out of days.
Yeah, they're looking for sponsors.
Say you have too many days left over.
Yeah, well, they're looking for sponsors. So what they're doing is they're planning this trip over 10 days, and then people will sponsor. So we'll go there with the vehicle, potentially charge, have a breakfast, or do a broadcast from there. So depending on who turns up and sponsors the trip, is where we'll spend a bit more time. So that's the logistics of that. I need to explain to. I mean, they have no idea about distances and charging rates, that sort of stuff. So that's sort of my role going in with them. So that's all to be determined over the coming days. But yeah, so I'll probably have that meeting, and then I reckon I'll jump back on maybe next week, or even get in touch with Harold directly. And yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, yeah, definitely do that, because I've got an Excel spreadsheet that I developed that had the intervals with all the towns and all the charging locations. So I knew what the gaps were. So that might help with some of the planning as well. Because it sounds to me, if you've got 10 days, I mean, I think I got to Kununurra, well, I got to Wyndham, it was about 3-4 days, not even. So I passed through Kununurra on about the 5th day, I think. So if you've got 10 days, it's really cruisy. You'll be simple. It'll be really easy.
You're a typical grey nomad, Harold. Straight through, not spending any money in the local towns, mate.
Well, yeah, I spent a bit of money. Don't you worry about that. And I was very obliging because I didn't book any of the accommodation. So when I got to Karratha on the second night,
that would have cost you.
The ranges were full. So then I had to limp to Wim Creek. And as you know, Wim Creek's not open at the moment. I stayed at Wim Creek, and then the next day was Portsmouth Beach Caravan Park, because I couldn't quite make it to Broome because it got dark and it just takes too long to replenish that extra bit of charge to get to Broome. But anyway, yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah. Give me a buzz. You've got my number. If not,
yeah,
I'll put it on the
think
chat.
I do, mate. Yeah. One of the other things that crossed my mind. I went to the Discovery Centre the other day in Gingin with the Owners Club, which was great fun, and just seeing all the Teslas driving together and what seemed to be everyone on autopilot, then braking and sort of lights coming on when it got dark all at the same time was quite impressive. And I just thought, well, I was wondering if there would be anyone that would want to maybe could start the trip or come for a drive to Jarrow, or we might even be able to sort of throw a few together and stir up a little bit of publicity if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'll come along. When's it going to be, Matt?
It'll be May. So I was actually planning to drive back in March, but the 12th to the 22nd of May is the dates that they've planned. The Kimberley Moon, they have a festival up there in Kununurra on that. It's the end of the Gibb River Ride as well. So there's quite a lot happening in the northwest end, and so it'll be a big night in Kununurra. So they're planning to finish it with that. But yeah, so starting on the 12th. But I'm happy to keep everyone in the loop if anyone's interested to come for a bit of a drive. I think it would stir up a little bit more interest.
You might have a Model X that might be prepared to tow a caravan or something.
Wow, that'd be amazing. That'd be absolutely amazing. So, yeah, okay. All right, I thought I'd just plant and see tonight and let everyone know. And I'll keep in touch and let you know where we're at.
Yeah, I think you get a few takers actually.
Sounds
good. Yeah.
Sure, we could organise half a dozen cars. What do you guys reckon?
I'm just looking in my diary. I got nothing there in that time, so we're good.
There you go. You've got 4 already, Matt.
Well, it's funny, Matt, because a lot of members have expressed interest in like a longer road trip, because our longest so far has been Kalbarri.
Right.
So I have sort of jokingly said that we could go a lot longer, although the logistics of that can be a bit fraught, because to charge one car at a time one car is easy. You add 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, and it becomes a bit of a logistics exercise, let's say. But nothing's impossible. And certainly to go to Geraldton initially is quite simple. So yeah, let's talk about it. And May's good. That's sufficiently far enough to do a bit of planning. So yeah, you never know.
All right, great.
It's
Cool.
not the
Matt,
school holidays.
Quick question. What variant have you got? Have you got a long range?
I've got a performance.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, cool. You've got a slight disadvantage because you got the sticky tires. You're not quite as good as a long range, but it's still all good.
Yeah, I was watching a YouTube video yesterday. They were saying if you put your tires at about 49 psi, you'll get a bit more distance too. So I might play around a little bit with that.
I wouldn't go too much higher than that, because I think the Michelin's is at 50 psi is the recommended limit.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the max cold inflate. Yep.
Yeah, which
cold.
is what I run mine at, and I run nitrogen in my tyres as well.
Do you?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
And it does stop the pressure rise. When I was just running air, I'd probably get 6 or 7 psi rise between cold and hot, and now it's probably 4 or 5 maybe. So there is a measurable difference.
So you're saying that, say, 50 would be, that's the cold pressure, or that's the
cold inflate.
Yeah, so that's I'm running Continentals at the moment. Yeah, and but they're also 50 psi max cold inflate pressure.
Okay, cool.
But it does make a big difference on range. I took my tip from Harold.
Yeah, so on my trip when I was in the Northern Territory and it was 40 something degrees in the shade, the tire pressure got up to about 57, and that's just normal because it started at 50. So yeah, the tire placard, it just has, it's a cold inflate. So that's the main number you've got to look out for.
Okay, cool. And do you find I found when I was heading down, when I was at the Gravity Discovery Centre, I was chatting to a couple of people there, and they were saying that if you draft, obviously you're getting much better distances out. I mean, I mean, I've had a look and I've played around with it, but are you finding you can get, what sort of percentages are we talking?
Oh, it can be quite significant. If you can follow behind a grey Nomad doing 90 k's an hour towing a caravan, you're really going to get some great efficiency, because you're going slower and you're also getting their dirty air, so to speak, which is really going to make a big difference. So you can just follow, even if you follow at a following distance of 1 on the scale, that's still quite a far. It's not right close up to them, because the car is quite conservative with follow distances.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're following a truck, you'll get even better efficiency, but you risk, if they flick a stone or something up.
Yeah.
Road trains can be a hazard because the third what's the name, trailer can sort of swing a bit, so it might just touch the gravel and again flick up rocks or whatever. But I mean, one of the best things to follow is one of those low loaders that have those ramps that they usually stow upwards, and they got the holes in the ramps, and they're like perfect because they're just disrupting all the air and you're just being sucked along. But again, full disclosure, if you're not a fan of stone chips and things like that, then maybe back off a bit. But yeah, in answer to your question, it makes a huge difference on efficiency.
Okay.
In the right
Even if you're not drafting behind another car, the wind direction, the wind strength, will make a difference. Obviously, whether you're going up or downhill makes a difference. Even how coarse the road is. So the smoother the road, the better the economy usually. So yeah, and temperature makes a difference. So even if you charge the car to, let's say, 50% at, in winter at, 7 o'clock in the morning, and you do nothing and just leave your car in the garage, by the time it gets to 1, 2 o'clock, that 50% might be at 54%. So yeah, there's a lot of variables.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
there's an app called Windy, which will give you the wind direction and the wind speed, which is quite handy to have. Have you got that one?
Okay. Yeah. No, well, use it daily up northwest. Yep.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So planning the wind direction is probably a good thing too. Yeah. Cool.
Yep. So, and you've got obviously PlugShare and ChargeFox. Have you got that one?
Got those. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely. Across those. So
And
yeah. Cool.
Obviously, try and take a spare with you and a low-profile jack, and maybe some of those hockey pucks too.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good call. Yeah.
Oh yes,
well, they're going.
Got a spare tire too. We've got a spare one that'll do performance Model 3s.
Oh, that'd be handy. Well, there will be, like I said, there'll be a vehicle traveling with us with crew on it, so we can let's chuck it in there and yeah. Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks, Harold. That's awesome.
Cool.
Thanks, mate.
I have a slight tangent question to ask, which has nothing to do with that. Sorry, it's just yeah, my mate from work, Gerard's actually joined the call. He's going to be getting a performance Model Y whenever they're here, and he's got the money. But he wants to know. Yeah, I know, $1 million question. But he's wondering if there's any update on the Osborne Parks service centre. Anyone heard anything or no?
For servicing, it's not open yet, but sales.
Yeah,
I think by now it's a soft open. Well, sorry, well now, not this week, obviously, but they are doing deliveries out of Osborne Park. I think they're on the verge, or they already are taking casual inquiries, I think, but they are certainly based there. Up until a couple of weeks ago, they were sort of focusing on deliveries, and
Yeah,
They were sort of I don't know what you call it, turning casual people away, saying, you know, for them to book a test drive through the website.
Okay.
But I think
So
any moment now, if not already, they're taking casual inquiries.
Okay. And is it so? So if you were going to be booking to do a test drive, Harry would come to you as opposed to now.
No, you go there, and in fact, this has already happened already. So you go there, you sign in on his iPad, and he sets you up, and you go for a drive by yourself. So he's not even in the car with you. So you actually get to try the car unsupervised.
Yeah, that's cool.
But
all right, cool.
you can only try Model 3s. So there are no S's or X's for the foreseeable future, and no Model Ys obviously yet, until we don't know when. You know,
Hopefully,
the Shanghai.
Hopefully this. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the Shanghai factory is busy producing left-hand drive Ys for the Chinese market, and once I guess that's abated, they'll then bring the right-hand drive version to Australia, like they are. You know, the next batch of cars, Model 3s arriving, will be Shanghai-built Model 3s, but it seems that that's not going to happen until roughly June. Unless, any cars that are arriving now may also be from Shanghai as well. We don't know, but presumably the ones that are coming in June will be from Shanghai.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
I guess I wonder when have a couple on display in the service centre.
You mean Model Ys?
Well, 3s and Ys, I guess.
Well, threes are there. They'll have Ys on display as soon as Ken and I have gotten a Y in our own garage. Because we'd be rather grumpy if they made us wait because they wanted to keep one in the showroom when there's a few customers with hot orders.
That would be annoying.
But yeah, we just don't know on the Ys. Something that Tesla did with the Model 3, I think it was in Sydney and Melbourne, was when they had a reveal of the Model 3, they were actually left-hand drive versions. Yeah. In fact, they've done that for I know they did that for the X, and I presume they might have done that also for the S. So it might be that they could bother to bring left-hand versions of the Model Ys possibly to Perth, which would be quite good.
But funny enough, the first S I ever test drove in the UK was left-hand drive, because that's all they had.
Yep.
So yeah, they just they had one car and that was it.
Yes. So so hopefully Jared will sort of answer that question. It's coming, but we just don't know when. But you can certainly suss out a Model 3, which is very similar. Effectively, the interior layout is almost the same. It's just the dimensions are slightly different. So your seating position, I think the seats are 150 millimeters. They're on like risers off the floor. So you sit slightly higher. It's the same seat, but they've got like a spacer. And also the actual floor is higher off the ground. So you've got more ground clearance. So you actually sit a fair bit higher. And you've got, the extra cabin space and things like that. But driving wise, it's probably pretty close to identical. So by all means, suss out the 3s that are in stock at Aussie Park, because at the moment that's the only thing you can try and drive.
Maybe me and Gerald will go down there and you can have a whiz.
Yes, and it's a unsupervised whiz too.
Yes, indeed. Probably a good.
Just saying. Welcome, Jules. So what sort of car have you got? Just putting on the spot with the unmuting this, which is always hard to do.
I actually don't. I've got a Mazda Neo 2, but I'm Joseph's girlfriend.
Ah, cool. Oh, I get it. Right.
Passenger side.
Ah, so so good on Joseph and you to combine a virtual date with an Ask Us Anything. Awesome.
Nice work, guys. I love it.
Look, as a club, we always try to be useful to our members, and if it means, in these COVID times that the only way to get together is virtually, well, we're all for it. It's all good. Ken, we know you've got a secret supply of those things. It's not fair. Us plebs had to go and fetch them ourselves.
Look, it's kind of it's kind of worse than that. I've got second handies that Sue's worn in theatre that she's brought home. So they've been through an operation already, but we've got stacks of them if you want some. They've only been worn by one surgeon once. It's fine.
So one of our customers turned up and it had an interesting sort of mask, and I said, "What's that?" And he goes, "It's actually a sock." Apparently, on YouTube you can see how people convert socks into masks quite effectively.
Not used ones, hopefully.
Yeah, so that's what I did say to him. I said, "You've got to make sure you wash the socks first." Oh dear.
Anyway.
Go, Matt. How you going? Welcome.
Thanks. Cheers. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're good considering. We're halfway through.
Hey, Matt called it last Sunday. We were down at Mindari Marina, and this was a couple of hours before the news about the lockdown hit. And we're just saying how lucky we've been that we haven't had a outbreak. And we're just saying it's only going to take one, and it will be swift, and we won't know what's hit us. And jinxed it, Matt.
Turns out that they were like forming their little plan as we were chatting there in the hot heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my wife went to the shops at 11 and they were deserted, and did a big shop just because that's what she was always going to do. And then it just went to mayhem a couple of hours later.
Yeah, lucky.
But there you go.
Hey, another bit of news so Elon did another interview with Sandy Munro, and
I'd literally watched that 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, right. Did you notice he mentioned, and I don't know if this is news or it's been mentioned before, but it's news to me anyway. He said the 12-volt batteries in the SNX will be lithium ion.
That's news. That wasn't announced beforehand. That's great news.
Yeah. And he said similar cycle life to the main battery, to the main pack. So,
yep. So they must have, because the reason that I've found out that there's a lead acid battery in all of our cars at the moment is in cold climates you can't charge a lithium ion battery, and the most reliable thing they could think of was just to use a standard lead acid battery because it can be charged at minus whatever 30. Yep. So
he didn't say what chemistry, so it's possible that it's like LFP or something more resilient,
Yes, yeah, exactly.
You would think it would be, wouldn't you, Matt? Yeah.
But perhaps they might even have, it might be a dedicated battery that might have its own heating element or something in it to keep itself maintained, perhaps. So rather than it being a separate accessory, it might be more integrated into a package, potentially.
They also talked extensively about getting away from a 12 volts system. They want to go to Elon wants to go to 48
42 or 48 volt.
Yep.
Yeah, which I think makes tons of sense. He gave the real world example. He said, this phone here on the table is like power over Ethernet. No one gets upset about 48 volts running through that in terms of safety,
Yeah.
I think that's sensible.
50 volts DC is the threshold of intrinsically safe power.
I think it's 60 volts that we're rated to on site. Because
I wonder if that's because that would be, because 13.8 times 4, so that's lead acid type charging, float charge is 55.2 volts. So they've probably gone, 60 gives you that margin for charging on a 50 volt system sort of thing.
only because working in comms, we work on up to 60 volt, but I'm not Sparky, so
yeah.
The question is, have you touched it and given it a try?
Depends
Only
on
on the
which
long
part.
battery,
Depends
with
on
my
which part of your body. If it's your fingers, you don't feel it, but if it's on your tongue, well, you do. Big time, big time. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense to go for the higher voltage system. And I think it was Sandy Munro, or maybe it was Elon, I forget which one sort of mentioned it, which actually the Tesla does anyway, is if you have Ethernet over power over Ethernet over the power, or comms over your main power, you don't need all this other backbone wiring. You just basically got the main power bus, and everything else is just comms over the bus.
all the time.
And in fact, the headlights, I presume, on all the cars, I know in my car, Model X, those headlights are intelligent. They actually have comms to tell them to turn on and off, or be on high beam, low beam, or whatever. So the cluster doesn't actually have separate power circuits. So there is no, for instance, high beam power source. Much to my consternation, because I installed a LED bar spotlight, and I've had to put a manual switch in because I can't use the car's wiring. So yeah, that was also news too. That, well, it's not really news, but yeah, that's right, Matt. It does make sense to go to 48 volts, but then Elon Musk didn't actually say he was going to do that. He just said it would make sense to do that.
He commented a number of times when Sandy suggested improvements that they're constrained by changing too many things at once. They like, the more things they change, because Sandy was insisting about going to a single casting and carbon fiber body and different things like this. He was like, what was the analogy that he gave, Pete? It was like
trying to change tires on a truck that's traveling down the highway at 80 miles an hour.
Yeah. So the more things they change fundamentally about the production process, the more versions of all of the factories that they create. And as with any good engineer, actually, he said this many times, like he's got a ruthless focus on simplicity and removing things, whether that's in software or in hardware. In fact, he went on and on about fewer lines of code is better than more lines of code. Because Sandy was asking him, how many lines of code's in the autopilot? And he's like, that's a bad measure for software. The more lines doesn't mean good. And so then they got onto the topic of less is always better. And so I think in the same way, changing too many things in the production is going to prevent them from maintaining their cash flow. In fact, he said that about the cash flow.
Yeah, and that was because to provide a single rear casting for the Model 3, they would have to change a lot of their production line and basically take it offline for weeks, if not longer.
Yeah,
and that would dramatically affect their cash flow. So they can't do that at Fremont.
Exactly.
But obviously, since Berlin is a greenfield site, they have got those full castings. Well, they will have them when they actually are installing them in Berlin and in Texas, for that matter. And they've done the Model Y one in the backyard of at Fremont, outside
the car park,
in the car park or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
that's why the newer cars and the newer factories get the innovations. They're not going to be able to work them back into the old factories and the old models immediately.
No, that's right. I mean, the extreme case is you can see the Model S and X. All they've really done is a interior refresh that's actually complicated, and well, they've done the battery pack as well, revised it.
Only on the high performance ones. On the standard range, he said, he actually mentioned this and I was surprised, not in that call with Sandy, but in another call the other week. They are still going to be using 18650 form factors for a number of years.
Yep.
And they have, and he said he's very happy to tolerate many different form factors for quite a while.
Cells. He just wants cells. He doesn't want any reason for the cell supply to be
constrained things.
Constrained.
On that, has the battery pack size of the supposedly long range S's and X's been reduced?
Undoubtedly, because
so
the tare weight, the actual weight,
yes,
the new cars have lost weight.
I was just looking at that.
Yep.
And range.
And range.
Yeah, well, so can I have a little bit of a whinge about that? Because long range doesn't seem to mean long range. What I don't understand, if you're going to stick with the 18650s, okay, I kind of understand that, but at least try and cram in as many as you can and make it supposedly long range. And I guess my other rant is, where's the Plaid Plus for the X? Or at least go with the 4680s, because the X is something that really does need, a bigger battery pack, in my opinion.
But the Plaid can already do, is it 2.6 seconds, 0 to 100? So, I mean, that's
for
Lamborghini times.
For the X, it's not wanting the Plaid Plus for the performance; it's wanting it for the range.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's where you need it. Absolutely.
It's 2.6 Ks for the Plaid X. I think the standard X is 3.9 seconds. Just trying to bring it up. It's a little bit slow. Oh, we don't need ACT, WA. 3.9. Yeah, 3.9 for long range. Forget, actually that 580 Ks, that's dramatically less than was claimed for the previous model. But this is more the EPA, the American-based EPA range, which is actually closer to reality than the NEDC, which, as we all know, stands for not even damn close. The Plaid is 2.6, but if you go to the Model S, the numbers just get a bit ridiculous. Even just the long range is was that 2 point something? No, 3.1 seconds, 3.2 seconds.
So this is my question: is 663 EPA not far enough now? Is that what you're saying, Richard?
For the X, I'm talking.
Radio.
Yeah, because the 5. Sorry, go, Richard.
I guess what I would, not that I'm looking to get an X, I would love an X, but it would be the 4680s with a dual motor version. So not caring about the performance per se. I mean, it's ridiculous as it is, but yeah, just for because it's a bigger car and because you could be carrying 7 people plus, camping gear or whatever.
What was the number on the X for the entry level one?
And if you're
580.
And if you're towing a trailer.
Oh, sorry, 550. 547.
580.
No, if the entry, he was the entry level.
Yeah, the entry level is the longer range, because that's 580 for the long
right,
range.
it is too. Yeah.
Yeah, the Plaid, which is it. See, Tesla's made it confusing. At Battery Day, they announced the Plaid Model S, because the only thing past ludicrous was Plaid. But now the Plaid is just a new name for the word performance, because they're the same thing, basically. And of course, so then Tesla had to change the so-called Plaid to call it Plaid Plus, which is actually the car they were referring to last year.
I think the 4680s have to only be Plaid Plus, because that jump in range is so substantial.
Yes.
I have to assume that all of the other S and X models are 18650 still.
Yes, they are. So
interestingly, I messaged Tesla when the announcement came out, and I got a message back saying that the Plaid models would have the updated batteries. So the message actually said the new structural batteries, which would mean the 4680s. Now, I've got a feeling that person probably didn't know what they were talking about. So I did speak to someone from Melbourne, and who was fairly high up, and he confirmed to me that the new models would have the updated batteries, and those were his words. So, and I said, okay, so 4680s, and he said, yes, the updated batteries. So he would never say 4680s. So I don't know if he was misleading or was just guarded with his words. And then, so I pressed further and I said, okay, so are they going to be structural? And he said, well, that I can't tell you. So I've got a feeling that maybe what they're saying is that the Plaid models will have the updated, possibly the 18650s, you know, the newer chemistry, 18650.
Yeah. Oh, definitely the newer chemistry. Yeah.
Well, this is the new pack, and it's different to the old pack. Like we said before, the old pack had, I think, 16 modules. So there's 14 you can see flat there, and I think there were 2 here. And notice how there are no fixings going through it, whereas this one, I don't know what these lugs are, whether they are intended to fix the centers, because maybe what they've done is made this less structurally integral, so that it actually relies on being bonded to the center of the car. I mean, you can see that this is like a seal, looks like an environmental seal. But maybe these are extra fixings because maybe they thinned out the actual structure of this pack. Because
and it looks like it's all one module now rather than 16 individual ones.
No, it could be like the 3s and Ys.
Yeah, it could be four long ones.
Four sort of notional modules.
In fact, the lines on that on that.
Yes, they sort of run that way. Yeah. So that's what it could be. So yeah, getting back to the X and the X and the S. Yeah, so I think we're going back to the S. Yeah, 3.2 seconds is the standard 5-door family sedan.
Incredible.
Sorry, 5-seat family sedan. We'll do 0 to 100 in 3.2 seconds.
I just don't understand why the long range hasn't got, you know, the maxed out number of batteries.
Yeah.
And why they didn't call it performance and then Plaid.
Well, imagine having a car that can do 837 Ks. That's
that'd be tremendous. But
and I dare say if it was in the long range, it would be even more, because it hasn't got the weight of the tri-motor.
Which is what I'm getting at, really. In the, if you're going to call it long range, well, it's not actually the one with the longest range.
Yes, indeed, yeah. So there's a real missed opportunity. But clearly, what Tesla are doing is they are preserving the 4680s for the most premium version.
Yeah.
But
my feeling is that what got announced at Battery Day as the Plaid has become the Plaid Plus.
That makes sense.
And they've slipped the tri-motor with the old battery pack in underneath it as a Plaid to try and keep it a bit more under control, because it's still an awesome car. You know, you got the tri-motor, you got torque vectoring, you got all the other stuff. But if you leave out the 4680s, you can keep it under control. And I would be punting, not that I'm going to gloat that my hit rate's been quite good of late, that Plaid Pluses might take a tiny bit longer to arrive than Plaid. So if you want one soon, then order a Plaid. If you're prepared to wait for the best thing, order a Plaid Plus, but expect to wait. Would be my feeling. Just because they're going to be constrained on 4680s for a while. In
the earnings call, he mentioned Plaid shipping next month, but he was very specific in saying Plaid.
That's right. Plaid Plus will be some time away.
Yep, that's exactly right. Dead right. I think it says on the American site later in 2021 or late 2021.
Yeah, we know what that means.
Yeah, late 2022. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like our 2017 supercharger. Because I know
guys, Tesla's getting better and better with these time frames. They might just be sandbagging it. You don't know. You know, they've produced a few of the 4680s now, so they've got to put them somewhere.
Didn't we have this sandbagging conversation last week? But anyway.
Yes, and Pete, I've got some very compelling evidence that I'm going to dig up in a second to show that sandbagging.
Got more spy photos of a.
Put your foot in it now, Ken.
No. It's not a spy photo. It was actually what we did last week, and we all know what we did. We convinced. Well, I said to Ken that I was going to order him a car, and just jokingly. And the funny thing is that when I did this,
open a can of worms now, Ken.
The estimated this was this time last week. and we're not even going to talk about the price, but we will do that in a minute. The estimated delivery of this car that I was going to order on Ken's behalf was March, and now it's 2022. So we can just let that settle for a little bit.
Wow.
And then if we see the drive-away price, because I remember Ken's car, actually Ken will remember it. In fact, we can repeat it. So there's Ken's car for $150,519 drive away. I'll just bring up.
Did you screen grab that?
No, that was live to video. So speaking of which, we're on YouTube. Just look up Tokwa and obviously like and subscribe and hit the notification button. Big shout out for Damon, Joe and Seb, and actually Elon, because Elon does watch our show every now and then because he's listened intently the last few weeks.
He's got his glass of tequila and wondering when he's gonna fire SN10 at the ground.
Ah, yes, well, I've got that one spooled up too. That's something else that's coming.
Have you got the high-res slow-mo of the crash? It's a ripper.
It is a ripper. So here we are. Here we are with Ken's car, and we're going to order him
it's cheaper.
We're going to no, because we got the wrong. Hang on a sec. It's not cheaper because I didn't bother to pick WA. So we're just going to go Model S, and we're going to go order now, get next year. And once the interwebs cooperate, we're going to pick WA this time. Although I think we all wish we lived in the ACT price-wise. Okay.
Yeah, nobody wishes they lived in the ACT, really.
So,
No.
so I already remember that it was $150,000 something, but Ken insisted on having a blue car.
Yeah.
So that's going to cost a bit extra.
It's the best color.
And then we also suggested that he get a white interior, or
Those
black and
wheels
white.
are terrible.
And look at that, the 150,000 and something turned into $165,000 overnight.
That's nearly what my 75D cost.
Right.
And if you did that on a Model X, that would have run up to over $30,000.
Oh, performance. If it was on performance, yes. Yeah. And controversially, what Tesla have invited all order holders to do is who had already had a car on order, even if it was actually after the factory had closed last year, they've basically rung around all the order holders and invited them to reconfigure their cars. And when you do that, you basically accept the new price, which is between $15,000 and $30,000 more than you'd ordered, even possibly a few hours earlier. And they're saying, well, you know, what can we do? We can't make your old car, so you're going to have to buy the new one at the new price. So anyway, we'll leave that itch where it is. That's something that's caused a bit of consternation with many people, but be that as it may.
Harold, are you going to keep your Model X? Your new Model X reservation order?
Sorry, am I going to? No, I'm going to keep it because I still wanted it. I wanted it when I ordered it, and I still want it. I'm not happy that it's.
What if they bring out a Plaid Plus Model X?
Oh no, I'm not. I forget what it was that Ken said last week. He did have a classic comment about not requiring the performance version of the S.
No, for the range rather than.
Oh. No, because the range of the current car, the new version, is significantly greater than my car is. So for me, it would be a huge improvement anyway. But yeah, I'm not happy that,
sure.
You know, I'd much rather have a 4680, you know, sold car, standard range, so long range, non-performance.
Yes. I'm annoyed on your behalf.
Yeah. I mean, look, put it this way, speaking of sandbagging, if somehow Tesla works out how to deliver Cybertrucks to Australia next year, then between you and me and Elon and Joe and Seb and Damon, I'm cancelling my order because I'm just going to have a Cybertruck, thanks. But I was going to get them as an in-betweeny.
2023, mate.
Yeah, that's what I reckon.
Yep.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, if we're lucky, and it will be probably March or something.
Given that factory is still only 1/3 built, so they haven't built anything yet, you know, and the American market are going to eat those things up.
And then there's going to be another set of SKUs for the different sizes, and then obviously the right-hand drive SKUs, you know.
Sounds like we could get the proper dimensions.
Yes.
Really,
So,
the America version.
Yeah.
Yes, oh, we will. No, there's no doubt, because you can import. Well, you can buy locally an F-150 truck, an F-250.
Yeah. You buy F-350. Yeah.
So
those
that
things are much
Wolverine
bigger than
variant
this.
won't be for Australia.
Sorry?
The Wolverine variant, that won't be for Australia. That will be the Europe one.
What's that one? Oh, is that the smaller one?
I think that's what they call it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, but then Elon was he did confirm, because someone asked about if some Europeans said they wouldn't mind getting a different driver's license or endorsement to be able to drive these things.
Yeah.
And basically, Elon sort of said, well, if the Europeans will accept it, then we have no issue with supplying it to them. So if there's some way of classifying it.
It's not easy to just get a new endorsement on your license. Like, you've got to do, you've got to do a theory test, you've got to do a practical. Yeah, but
Richie, we've got 3 years to wait, so we could start learning now.
And we're also talking about Tesla fanboys, which are a bit weird.
Yeah.
I'm speaking for myself. Obviously, that doesn't apply to you guys.
Oh, yes, it does, Matt.
I know.
So definitely Cybertruck.
I'm not weird at all. I'm overjoyed that I spent $4,000 on an MCU that costs $2,300 now.
Come on, Ken. You're going to start on your sandbox. Let's go.
No, it's all good. But hey, have you already talked about the recall?
No, we're going to do that right now, Ken. I'm just spooling up the.
You go very slow today, Harold.
I thought I'd be more discussional. Like before, I used to jam all the news at the start.
It's good. It's good.
And that used to be boring. So now
I thought because I'd arrived kind of 20 minutes late, all of this stuff would have happened without me. So.
No.
And now we can bore the new Model 3 owners even more.
Oh yes, sorry guys. Yeah, it's just a little bit of. We've got to rake over the old coals because we've got old cars. So this is the NHTSA's site, and they've increased the number of recalls by 1 because there's now 6 of them. And when you go to the recall section, which I'm doing this really badly, apologies.
You're on Windows, mate.
Recalls, here we go. Okay, so this is an awesome document. This one here. So basically, for those who don't know, the older cars had a first version of a media control unit, which is the touchscreen, and Tesla eventually admitted that every single one of these touchscreens will fail sometime during the lifetime of the car. A classic thing was this is actually now a voluntary recall. So in one sense, Tesla has completely voluntarily decided to fix this issue, except it says here on 27th of January 2021, Tesla responded to NHTSA's request, explaining its view that the eMMC wear condition neither constitutes a defect nor presents an unreasonable risk to safety.
Wow.
And then it says, but in the interest of bringing administrative closure to the investigation and to ensure the best ownership experience for our customers, we decided on the 27th of January, which was the last date they could decide this, because that was the deadline that the NHTSA had set them, to voluntarily initiate a recall and provide the remedy described below, which is effectively they substitute a smaller, older unit for a newer, larger memory device.
This must be the same group of people at Tesla that Rich Rebuilds always has trouble with.
Love Rich.
Well, the funny thing is, when you look at their investigations and you open up the investigations document,
just don't.
it's this one, because bearing in mind, we just heard that Tesla said they don't believe there's any defect. And yet one of the findings was that basically Tesla admitted that 100, oh, here we go. Given Tesla's projects of MCU repairs, even 2018 model years, suggest vehicles will experience 100% failure of the MCU within approximately 10 years. Oh, anyway, so that's the recall.
I just don't know how they can classify the MCU failing as not a defect.
I know, it's a joke.
Well, you know, you can, I guess there
You
are
can still drive it.
there are alternative facts, and Tesla is just presenting them.
There are alternative facts. Okay.
But anyway, you know,
Sounds like something Trump would say.
The short answer is because lawyers. Because as soon as you
That's
say
what I'm
something
saying.
is a thing, then lawyers.
Because lawyers, yeah.
So the world would be much simpler if there weren't any, but there are. So
have they basically just played a no contest? Well, it actually sort of, well, they've just done a plea bargain.
Said, stop harassing us, we'll fix it, is what they've said.
Yes, they just plead no contest. We're not contesting it. We're just going to do it, and we don't believe in it.
Can't believe I'm thankful for a regulator to having kept Tesla in line. I kind of was a little bit like this.
Yeah, and sadly, it's just something that happens. But hey, for those in Model 3 land, it's all good. Your cars are awesome, and we know
For now.
it. Yes, and they're getting better, and as each new version comes out.
I'd like to go on the record, since you're recording this, that of saying that the MCU in the Model 3 will not outlast its regular lifetime. It will need to also be replaced.
Well, I guess we can say from current experience, then Tesla will be doing that rather slowly, and they'll be dragging their feet doing it. But
well, of course, as of this week, they've announced MCU 3.
Yes, they have.
Yeah,
SNX,
So new Model S, Model X have MCU 3 that can play Witcher
with 10 teraflops of effort.
Yeah. So we're already behind again. You know, that's just the way. That's the joy of Tesla ownership. You know, it's just.
And we just paid $4,000 for our MCU 2, thinking that was awesome.
But you get that back though now, right, with the recall?
No.
Aren't they reimbursing customers?
No.
It's a pretty different thing. MCU 2 and the NAND.
And the EMC thing is different. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Although I can put my hand on my heart, in the case of my car, one of the compelling reasons why I actually did get the upgrade is because Tesla refused to fix my old unit, even though I couldn't use the rear view camera because it had all like striations and you just couldn't see stuff. And it would do weird resets and silent autopilot disconnects, which would bin me into the side of the road if I wasn't looking properly. So I just paid $4,000 to fix their problem.
No, it wasn't. You wanted to see the bins and the cones on the sides of the road. That's the only reason you paid $4,500.
It was worth every one of those $4,500, Nigel. You busted me again.
I intentionally go driving on Fridays because it's bin day. And
ours is Wednesday.
It's just awesome.
A bin day.
But
oh dear.
But yes, don't talk about reversing cameras. I'm still waiting for my software update, but that's another story for another time.
Oh yeah, speaking of which, how are the Model 3s? How are you guys going with your reversing cameras? Is it just an S and X thing, or is it? Do you find your rear view camera at night dark, like much darker than your side cameras?
No.
No, it all seems to be fine. We've got no troubles.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
just me.
Sometimes if the car's only just woken up, it can be slow to start up. If I jump in right now and it's asleep and I want to go somewhere quickly and I throw into reverse, I'm halfway down the drive before I realize I probably would have killed somebody. So I remember to wait for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, right. Good move.
I've had one issue when we were driving down south, Christmas the year before, and halfway down the freeway, we had to go and get some drinks, and I had to reverse, and I noticed the reversing camera wasn't working. So I did the soft reset, didn't do anything, did a hard reset, didn't make a difference. So I logged an issue through the app. I logged a service call, and by the time we woke up next morning, it was fixed. So apparently what Tesla do is if you log an issue or a service call, and they can see according to the logs that you've tried to reset the system and that didn't fix it, they go in themselves remotely and try and fix whatever's required. And and then I just cancelled the service call the next day.
Cool. I think you, Joseph, had an issue with radio station favorites or presets or something. Once you're on mute, there you go. Yep.
Oh, yeah, basically 96 FM had smart, somehow they were showing up as smart gen, all in caps. And then I tried to do my stuff. But they supposedly the fix was back in the US. They had to do their magic. And I thought it was the hard reset whereby someone mentioned last week that you press and hold it until the T goes up. But it's not, it wasn't that. It was someone, the programmers and thing coincidentally fixing it.
Yeah, cool. Just a pro tip, on our YouTube site, we've actually got a few different pro tips. So for those who've got new cars, that might be an interesting place to have a look. So just go into the Tokwa YouTube channel, and we've got pro tips on navigating. You can do single touch navigating to home or to work, depending on what time of day it is. So you can just, in the Model 3, you can either drag the navigate button downwards, or you can drag it to the right. And that will then, if you've got a home address set as a favorite in your car, it'll just navigate straight to home. Or if you're at home or near home, and it's say in the morning on a weekday, and you've got a work address set, it will automatically navigate to work. So yeah, we've got a few different videos that we've done on a playlist. The other thing we've also done is if you look at any of our later videos, I've updated the details. So if you're watching through YouTube, you can also look at ABC iView, Channel 9, SBS On Demand, Stan, Disney, and one or two others, just by clicking in the description of one of our videos and just hitting one of those links. So that's another little pro tip that you can do that might be useful if you're, charging somewhere or parked or whatever. So that's something else that you can do. I'll actually just bring up that video.
While you're doing that, Harold, I don't know if you guys have covered this before I joined, but has anyone noticed that Joseph's not in his car?
Yes, well, yes.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah, so you can see here that I've just
isolating.
Oh, someone had to say it. Okay, cool.
What was that?
He's self-isolating.
Oh, gotcha. Yes, but he didn't he have a negative test? Joseph, didn't you have a negative test? Negative result?
Yeah, I've got a negative test, but you still have to do a 14-day self-isolation from the last Thursday.
Yeah, right. Was that because of ECU or?
Yeah, ECU.
Yeah.
Security, guard. So I mean,
I'm laughing that even during lockdown, he would have found a reason to be in his car during this call. Like, you'd probably be doing essential shopping right now, wouldn't you?
Well,
add a charger. I don't know how, but I'm sure that's what you do.
Well, I charged at UWA this morning because that's the EV equivalent of a petrol station, which you are allowed to attend.
Except that UWA specifically sent out a communique saying don't come to campus.
And you should have seen how many people were at campus. It was amazing. It was ridiculous. Yeah, so back to this thing where if you want to look at like ABC iView, Disney, SBS, Stan, and the others, just grab one of our videos and it's in the description. So you can just click on any of those and your touchscreen will put on whatever it is, iView, Disney, etc.
And we'll
My
go
question-
to full screen as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I've
Does
actually
it maintain sessions if you log in? Will it save them across like?
yes, because you
Drive?
actually you can use your credentials. So I think it was, I don't have Stan, but on 9 Now, I didn't have a login, so I just used an email. You know, I registered. So I think it does because it knows who you are because you've logged in.
Yeah, and the YouTube app is basically just a wrapper for the standard browser and the MCU. So the same cookies go across.
They persist, is what you're saying.
And in fact, to log into YouTube with your own credentials, you need to do it via Plex. It is Plex, isn't it, Ken? I think.
Yeah, Plex is the easiest way.
Yes.
Yeah, if you log into Plex with your Google account, then it gives you a session cookie, which then works in YouTube, which is kind of neat.
Yes.
Is it just me, or does anyone else find that the browser is just dog slow in their car?
Yeah, it's slow. Yeah.
Yeah.
You should have
I
tried
agree.
MCU1.
Oh, stop it, Ken.
No, it was. The thing is, it was. I don't know. Some of you aren't as old as me, but back in about 2002, I had a Hewlett Packard iPack, and I had the first one that did cellular data built in, and you could browse the web on it back in 2002, over 9600 bits per second. The Tesla MCU1 felt a bit like that.
Oh dear. So,
but not as cool.
So, Chris, how's your experience been with your wife's car, given that it's not even yours?
My wife's car's been fantastic, actually. Yes, no, it's been lovely. Really, really nice. Definitely do get a few looks occasionally. I was coming back. We went to Bunbury to test out the supercharger and take it on its first drive. And on the way back, there was a young gentleman and his girlfriend in a hotted up Ford that were driving next to us at about 100 and I was doing about 118 because that's my speed. And anyway, they drove forward past us. They had a good look. They stopped a bit, had a good look, went past us again, had a good look. And I put my foot down and Kathy turned around and said, "You better slow down. It's 176." And I thought, shit.
We'll have to cut those bits out.
No. I think what Chris was saying is that it was 176 millimeters per hour.
Millimeters extra that I traveled.
We were just doing that in the car park. It's perfectly fine. And it was obviously off-road in a non-gazetted road.
That's exactly right. Yes. Yeah. I just realised this is live, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's not live.
No, it's not live. Damon, who suffers from severe insomnia, watches us in half-hour gulps later on, and Joe and Seb, they might use it to lull the kids off to a nice afternoon snooze.
And you can't be doing more than 88 miles an hour anyway. Otherwise, the flux capacitor would have kicked in.
True.
Only in the Cybertruck.
So yes, any speeds that are mentioned are people clearly exaggerating what they're doing.
Yes.
It's how big's that fish? It's that big.
Oh, this big. It was this big. Yeah.
Go in line with your fishing.
But yes, the acceleration in these cars and the throttle response is just, it's just good, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
What version have you got, Chris? And sorry, what was your wife's name? I didn't catch
Kathy.
it. Kathy. Sorry, Kathy.
Model 3, last year's, we picked it up in December.
Is it long range or performance?
Long range. Yeah.
Nice.
And color? Sorry.
White.
Oh, Poverty Pearl White. Awesome.
Lovely one.
It is so funny that Poverty Pearl White is the default color. It's that the free.
Such a nice colour, though.
Excuse me, but it is the best colour to have in this country with that hot sun.
True.
Yeah.
And
True.
it's not just that,
But
it's the best value color as well because it's multi-code. And if you want another multi-code color, it's the red, which is on the 3, it's about $2,000 more, isn't it? $2.5 grand
Yeah, I think
more.
so. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I've got a pink wrap. It's behind me is my. This is a
oh, is that what that is?
Model 3. It's got a two-tone thing. Unfortunately, it hasn't got the whole. You can't see the whole lot. But it's sort of a. It's a sort of a. Sort of a. Brothelish actually, but contrasting red on it. So, and look, I had to do this because no one could get into my car. So, look, it isn't actually a wrap. I was actually parked in Cogen up next to the hardware store, which is a great big pink wall. And when I took the photo of this, the sign I put on there, it just came out pink, and it's just different, the different colors. It's just it does look like a contrasting wrap, particularly when you see the rest of the car, which is sort of, it's got white on it. And yeah, anyway, I just thought talking of poverty pearl, that's the cure for poverty pearl. So.
Well, you had me fooled, Pete. I genuinely thought you had it wrapped.
Yeah, I know. It looks bizarre. Yeah, it's just, particularly with the two-tone on it. Just really, it's not just a. It's nice when you see the whole picture. I've been trying to get it onto here from off my phone.
Perhaps you should go and get a vinyl wrap just like that.
Well, yeah, it looked quite good on the. Perhaps a little pink. I don't know.
Actually, I could say that Damon's got burnt orange. Whoops, sorry, Damon. I didn't mean to say that, but it's recorded, so I can't take it back. But, his car is red. I think it was originally a white car, although I could be wrong. And it's now red.
And he's got the and he's got the chrome delete too. Which looks really nice.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So I presume now that people that are getting chrome deleted cars, well, there is no chrome, they'll be getting chrome added.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be different. But it's all good. It's all good.
So mine's got chrome delete. This is chrome delete. So
yes,
deleted the chrome on it. So
so
it's such a nice font, isn't it? It just looks like I put it on there with text.
Yes, it's like Sharpie font or something.
Yeah, and on the inside as well, because people always pull the manual control. So put a sign push here. Or yeah. Anyway.
Hey guys, since we're Harold, since we're talking about red things, remember I was on the phone with you earlier today, and the courier came to the door.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So
go on.
What do you think it may have been?
It was a car.
No, not a car.
Oh, shorts.
Yes.
Oh. So now, Pete, you now have to stand up. No,
that's I knew you were going to say that.
If I ask someone to stand up on a Zoom call, it could be in for a lot of pain visually.
You can persuade my wife to model them for you, but I'm not going to be doing it. But anyway, here we go. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, yes. Lovely. Oh, yes. That is sexy. That is sexy. They look quite substantial.
Yeah, I
what
don't
size is
know
that?
why
Is that a medium or is that a... Do they have
Size fits all.
They're a large, so I just wanted whatever was left.
So that's when someone's very sexy. Right. Cool.
Yeah, they went pretty quickly, so even I could probably wear those, but don't get any ideas, Harold. Not going to happen.
I like the way they become transparent.
Best I not get anyone to model them then, hey?
Well, yes, indeed. That is awesome. That is a good scoop there, Pete.
They come in a nice box as well. If you can see that with gold lettering. No, that's see-through too. Sorry.
Not really.
No.
That's
not happening.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess unfortunately your laptop is expecting, or whatever it is expecting a face instead of something else.
That's cool.
Just trying to bring up.
Oh, very classy.
Oh yeah, that is cool.
Yeah, that's very cool, Pete. So that was the interruption. That was well worth it.
Yeah,
yeah, that's awesome.
And
nice package.
this shirt came with it as well, which was pretty cool.
Oh yes, that's the owl. Yes, yep.
Cybertruck owl.
So was that the Australia Post freight forwarding thingy, or how'd you get that?
No, it was through the US one, through My US, I think it's called. Is it My US?
Yes, My US.
Is it? Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, cool.
Yes, yeah, correct. MyUS.com.
So was it super expensive to do that?
Well, the shorts themselves, as you will remember, were $69.420.
Yes, they were. Of course,
so they weren't cheap, but apparently they've been going as high as $400 now on eBay. So.
Oh, nice. Because I presume the actual freight part is fairly expensive. Like it's probably what, double that price? I mean, adds the same price to the freight.
No, I think it was free delivery to my forwarding address.
Yes.
And then I had quite a few items, so
so
they all got packaged into one. Yeah, so it wasn't too bad.
So do they actually hold? So they'll hold several consignments until you say forward the whole lot. Is that how it works?
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good to know. Cool. So that's MyUS.
MyUS.com.
Excellent.
Yeah, it works quite well. And you can pay $1 or $2 or what have you, and you can unscramble the photos. So they take aerial photos of the bench where they're opening the packages, so you can see what was in your package, which can be handy as well.
Especially when you got sexy shorts on. That's exactly right, Pete.
Jeez.
Oh dear.
My US are actually currently shipping my aero wheels for my S. Over, so they're on the way.
Lovely.
So sure, I'll show you all once they're on.
Yeah, nice.
And yeah, so we can get a bit more range doing road trips.
Oh yes, because you got the performance. All right.
No.
Chris and Kathy, thanks for coming. We'll catch you later on next time.
See you.
Thanks for that.
See you guys.
Lovely to see
Thank
you.
you.
See you guys.
Yeah, no, I've got the 21-inch rims, which are awesome, and I love them. But yeah, it'd be nice to get another 10% of range.
So these ones are 19s.
These are 19s, and they're those arrows that you showed a picture of
last
week or the week before.
Yeah, the ones that were controversial at the time.
Look terrible, but I don't care for road trips.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, the thing is, and when the car's driving along, you can't see them anyway. It's just a blur.
No. Yeah, well, yeah. I think I said the same thing last week as well about when my car got keyed in the UK. It was like, well, I can't see it when I'm driving it, so.
Hey, that's what all the Tesla delivery people say when you look at the panel gaps and they go, well, when you're sitting in the driver's seat, you can't see them.
The funny thing is, it's like, I've never ever looked for panel gaps on any car I've ever owned, ever. It's pretty, as long as the water is not getting in, I do not care.
It was interesting. Sandy Munro asked Elon on the interview about the gaps. He said, look, he was trotting very carefully, but and Elon just said, look, people ask me when's the best time to buy a car, and I say either right at the beginning or once the production line reaches a steady state. It's during the ramp up that we have most of the issues.
Yeah, there was one issue he mentioned about the paint, where when they were ramping Model 3, they didn't realise that the paint needed 1 or 2 minutes of extra drying, and I reckon that's
exactly what my car's from.
Yeah, that must be my car too.
Yeah. Okay. But see, I've got the black paint, and it's a solid black, so it's not really metallic, and I can't, I can. even with the softest microfiber cloth I can find and going over it as lightly as you possibly can, you'll see the wax on, wax off circles. It's just, yeah, I'm going to have to get a wrap, I think.
Yeah.
So that was my intention from the beginning, because I heard about the pain of being up to scratch, pardon the pun, but yeah, yeah, I'm just going to have to do it. I think it's just, yeah.
Hey, get a white wrap. That'll look really good.
Well, that was going to be that was the color I wanted, but black was the free one. So I thought, I'm getting it wrapped, I might as well get the free one. But now I'm thinking, well, you know, to wrap it in white might have to be maybe a solid rather than a metallic white, or yeah.
Hold on, how do you get a free wrap?
Not a free one. No, I'm just saying I have to get it wrapped. Yeah.
You could get a matte white wrap.
Yeah.
I was thinking about getting something matte. Yeah.
Funny that, Matt. Why would you get? It'd be a matte. It'd be Matt's matte car.
This is on the internet, Harold. Just chill out, man. With the dad jokes.
As long as it's not a match that you are getting, Matt.
All right.
Matt.
Obviously, it's just.
Surely not a floor mat. No. Oh dear. But yeah, so how much are the wraps? How much are color wraps? I know if it's PPE, it's not PPE. What's it called? PPF.
Yeah.
That's
paint protection film.
Expensive, but I believe that vinyl wraps are a lot cheaper.
Yeah, my concern is I'm not sure how long they last, and there's varying degrees of quality that people have reported. So, yeah, I haven't taken the plunge, haven't started doing the research yet, but I got the details from the guy that did Matt's, and Damon's, and Damon's looks pretty good. So
it's not bad for burnt orange.
Harold, it's not burnt orange, it's red. It's like that car behind Nigel.
No, it was more like no, it's more like Peter's. It's like Peter's door handle. No, not quite. Sorry, Damon. I'm only kidding.
I was looking at Duane's one the other day at the bubble tea catch up with all of the petrol heads.
Yep.
And on the underside of his grill, it looks like they didn't do a very good job of heating it, so it shrunk properly. It's quite terrible, but his is over a year old now. So yeah, I think the quality can vary wildly. But what I have heard, which is consistent from a handful of different people who've been to different suppliers, is that if you catch those problems within a few weeks of it being done, most places will re-wrap it for free until you're satisfied.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Because it's just their reputation. And I've heard this from a number of customers for different shops that this happens. That it's routine. They'll re-wrap it.
So obviously the material cost isn't that high. I mean,
what they can't afford is you telling your friends that it's a shit job. The thing though that would concern me, like maybe this is also your concern, Pete, is that if you get that chip and paint damage on the front, is it going to be okay being wrapped over it if the surface is uneven, or do you need to have something else done?
Yeah, so yeah, I think they advise you, and so some of the places do it themselves, others just sub it out to someone else. But yeah, it needs to, my front's all perfect now. I've got a couple of little stone chips along the bottom on the sides, and I've got one where kids put their school bags in. They drag the bags and the buckles.
Oh my gosh! I tell that to my kids too.
So I take a couple of my kids plus a couple of others to school, and yeah, it just happens every time. So I've got a couple of fairly deep scratches, but those are just plastic buckles, so they shouldn't, scratch the paint that much. It's just that the paint's so soft. So yeah, I'll have to have that bit ironed out before it gets wrapped. Yeah, you're right.
You can actually just go into YouTube and there's like channels where they show you how to wrap cars, and you can just do it yourself.
Yeah, that's not a very good wrap, that one.
I don't know.
Just need a hairdryer, right?
Well, yeah, that's right.
Some of that stuff that we put in the kids' school books.
Yeah, contact.
Yeah, that's it. Contact and a hairdryer, done.
Yeah, he actually does sort of show how it's done. Because
a number of places say you can put the self installed ceramic coating on top of vinyl wraps, which I was surprised to see.
Okay.
Yeah, I know a guy that's done that. He's had his just the front of his car wrapped, and then he's put ceramic coat on top of that. Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
I would have been worried that it wouldn't adhere properly, but maybe it does.
Yeah, don't know.
What's
Yeah,
the main benefit of doing that? Is that just to make it easier to clean, or?
Yeah, that's mostly cleaning. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
literally.
So the wrap's hard to clean, are they? Or?
No, I've got a PPF on the front and ceramic coat on the back, and it's as easy as anything to clean.
Both the PPF and the ceramic?
I haven't noticed any difference. In fact, because I've got the PPF on the front, and the front gets a lot of the little flying buggers squidging on there, they just hose off. I got a Karcher pressure thing, and I just stand back, wet them, go back a few minutes later, and they're gone.
Has anyone done before and after tests though? Has anyone tried to clean it without having the ceramic coating and then later got it and then noticed the big difference? That was you, Nigel.
I had I didn't get mine ceramic coated or and the PPF on the front for it must have been quite a few months, and it came off so much easier.
Wow. Oh, there you go.
So paint protection film, that's essentially just a clear wrap, really, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, you can get. I think you can get coloured PPF, but I just got the white clear.
So what's the difference between PPF, let's say coloured PPF, and a wrap, or a see-through wrap and a translucent PPF?
Isn't
price?
Yeah, but isn't PPF thicker? And also, I thought some of the PPFs were self-healing. So if you get swirls or scratches, minor scratches, polishing scratches, they will sort of self-anneal or whatever they do.
But if you
get above a certain temperature.
If you get a stone chip in them, you can get a hairdryer and heat them up, and it's supposed to heal it over a lot.
Yeah, right.
Sounds like marketing wank to me.
Well, that's the technical term for the YouTube. What do you call it? Bot that analyzes that to see what the rating of the video is. So just saying that out loud. What's the price of the full PPE? That isn't that PPF? Sorry, isn't that 5K?
Yeah,
right?
even north of that, I think.
I think if you do the full PPF over the whole car, you're talking double that, 910.
Oh, right.
Depends upon the quality.
Yeah, I've not
I mean,
heard of that.
you can buy a new car for 10 grand.
Not a Tesla, you can't. How much is a spray? How much is a spray paint job? I'm sort of having done one for ages.
Respray is 5 or 6K, depending on how much you do.
Is that all? So,
well, it depends. I think that would be for the front panels. I don't know if that's for the whole car.
Yeah, no, I'm sort of thinking for the whole car, because I mean 10 for.
Yeah, that seems excessive for a wrap. That's a lot more than the prices I've heard.
Yeah, right.
Well, no, Nigel was saying that was for PPF. A wrap would be probably in the vicinity of 4 or 5. So.
Yeah, well, when I had mine done, I had, as I said, the front half done PPF, and then the top and back and sides was done just a ceramic coat.
Where'd you go, Nigel?
Mad Ink.
Mad Ink, yeah. Yeah, they're known to be one of the most expensive, I think.
Yeah, and that was about 4.1 or 4.2. But they did a really good job. And then I did ask, well, how much to do the whole thing? And he says, about 9.5 in PPF. But they use the imported from America stuff. So and that's what they consider the one they get is the best quality.
They've got a really good reputation, so that's why they can charge what they charge, and they won't do a bad job either because of their reputation. They also don't have any bookings for months, so depends how long you can wait. And the waiting is a problem, right? Because unless you figure out how to time it, there's some duration after you've collected it where you are going to want to drive it, and that's going to get driving use before you can take it into the shop and get it wrapped, when ideally I think most of us would want to take it straight from the pickup to the shop where it's wrapped, you know?
Yeah, so it's a bit like the Model X I ordered. I would have booked in a wrap in March or say early April, and then I have to ring them up and go, actually, you know what? I know you're really busy. How about we do it next year? Anyway.
Yeah, they'd love that.
Yeah, because the price would be up.
Now, speaking of price, actually, for the Plaid Plus, like, you know, I was looking at the price, you know, maxed out 250 grand or somewhere, which is, you know, an epic amount of money. But it wasn't that long ago that top of the range P100D Ludicrous, you know, and Model X's were in the, you know, around 300. So,
and that is the fastest production car
in
the world.
I think it's cheap for what it is.
It is. You're right.
It is cheap.
Just trying to bring it up.
Even after the Australia tax.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it'll beat a Ferrari, which is a lot more expensive.
Everything.
Beat everything.
It beats
a Bugatti.
It beats the Porsche Spider, which is the second fastest car.
What's the McLaren that bloke has? The guy who's always at the shows.
Yeah, $247,000. That's without autopilot, without full self-driving.
Full self-driving seems like a blip on the radar once you're up at that number.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, although the price, it does go up. So if you fully option it with, say, like a black and white interior, $261,000 for something that will beat the doors off like a Bugatti Veyron, or Chiron. You know, which is what, a $2 million car.
Sorry to go all the way around because I missed the first half. Did we discuss the steering wheel? I'm guessing you probably did in the first half an hour.
Yeah, we sort of just we did show it up close because it's got force touch buttons on it. I'm just trying to bring it
haptic feedback.
No, I don't. No, probably. Well, I don't know. I think it's just another term for capacitive. But anyway,
I can't show you, but my new Mac, the M1, they've put the escape key back onto the keyboard as a tactile button, mechanical button. It's awesome.
Okay.
There you go.
Just the escape key.
Okay, here's the steering wheel coming right up.
I'm guessing that full lock will just be that.
That's what people have suggested, but I don't think so.
You think it will be over? Because that
I think it will have to be over. You're not going to go and put Expo onto a steering wheel. No one will know how to drive it. It'll be terrible.
I don't know. That's the only thing.
And you've seen the koala faces, like they have a side by side comparison. Yeah, so there's the force touch. So you got your memos, your wiper washer thingy. That's probably autopilot.
Oh my gosh, they figured out how to put multiple buttons back into the car without like making it look like it has them.
And the horn, and then you got your indicators, which are a bit controversial, and your high beam.
And I was thinking about this the other day because the top of my steering wheel in my S does, like the way I find it comfortable, does get right in the way of where the speedometer is.
Yes.
So I do kind of get it from that perspective, but I just don't know how. Yeah.
You got clear vision of the binnacle. Yeah.
Do you think that what we can't see is some mechanical actuators that make the whole thing disappear?
Yes, I reckon that thing's going to fold away into that.
But it doesn't look like it at the moment from that rendering.
It doesn't. Yeah.
No.
But
that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's like kind of surprise.
But I mean, like just fold down, like so the bottom of it just recesses in.
Yeah, there'll be some
Almost.
pivot point, and then it will disappear.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look like it though, because there's not enough recess there. You'd have to go down a fair bit and then collapse. It would have to telescope in. Tuck away.
Yeah. So telescope in and then pivot.
Yeah. Don't know about that.
I'm just feeding the hype. I don't really think it will either.
You rascal.
And like you guys are saying, there is a possibility that you might have very progressive steering. So it doesn't steer much at the first little bit, but as you turn it more, it'll go full lock on a half turn or something. But I guess
I don't reckon
that too.
It could also be speed sensitive, so that the slower you are, the faster the wheels will turn. So you'd only go a quarter, but when you're doing 300 miles an hour in it, it would, a quarter turn might just move you a little bit. It could be speed sensitive.
Completely agree.
I want to say some UX kind of philosophy statement like they're going to stick to conventions because that means that it's usable, but they're removing the stick. So I think that undoes that logic.
Yeah, well, the first car had a stick, didn't it? The Mercedes, Carl Benz, his first car was a tiller. It basically had like a stick steering. So hey, who knows? And apparently it has been approved in Netherlands.
What's that, Harold?
The yoke, the steering yoke, has been approved in the Netherlands, formally approved, apparently.
Already?
Yes.
Yeah, but weren't they sitting in a coffee shop having a little cookie?
And there's not that, and that's no yoke. Yes, that's right.
Oh gosh, it's comedy gold tonight.
It is. It's just. Well, the Fringe Festival is shut at the moment, so we are the Fringe, well and truly.
One thing I was just thinking is if the steering wheel or the yoke is supposed to disappear, I don't think that can happen because that means the airbag would go as well, and you need to keep the airbag.
That's a really good point.
And that's what Tesla was actually asking NHTSA when they were discussing things like the future of autonomous vehicles, is the definition of what is a steering position, because if you have a steering wheel, you need a driver's side airbag, whereas if there's not a steering wheel, you need a passenger airbag, and they have different, in America in particular, where wearing a seatbelt is considered an optional thing. The passenger side airbags are dual stage, and they go off according to weight and severity of accident. So Tesla were asking questions such as, well, is there a set definition of what a driver's steering control is, or what a steering control is? Can it be in the back row? Can it be in the front row? Can it be in the left, the right, or whatever? So yeah, that's a very good point, because if you fold away the steering wheel, well, you've lost the airbag.
You have, yeah.
But maybe you can then substitute it for the equivalent of a passenger airbag on the driver's side. But then at the moment, there are regulations that probably forbid that.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, you've got a little bit of rake and movement up and down of the steering wheel. So it could just disappear down towards the dashboard and sit there rather than disappear completely. Just moves further away from you to give you a bit more space. And it could still then have the little explosion there happily going away to protect you.
Yeah, I think it's too early. I think like even Tesla are going to want to see some time on the road with full self-driving before they start to re-engineer steering columns disappearing.
Yeah, because you've got nowhere to go once you've gotten rid of it. It's rather final. So, you know, you can't take over the car with anything. Oh, unless you use like a wireless Xbox controller or something.
So here's a bit of conjecture that I've wondered. Not that I would ever do this, but there's obviously going to have to be legislation once full self-driving is legal, so that if you are just staggered out of the hotel and you're off your face and you get into your car and you go home, so that if the police pull you over, you are legally protected in full self-driving. But what if you drove away and then saw the booze bus up ahead and then put it into full self-driving?
Why wouldn't you
Just
do
found
that
a loophole,
first?
Richard.
You should do that before you got into the car. Well, as you got into it, you should have.
Of course you should. But I'm predicting, you know, I'm foreseeing a time in the future where someone goes, you know what, I'm just going to drive my autonomous vehicle manually, even though I'm half cut, and then put it into full self-driving. I just wondered, never heard that edge case being talked about.
One thing that Elon mentioned on this Sandy Munro interview, was it that one? No, I think it was on that Clubhouse, was that if the vehicle can detect that you've gone to sleep, it will automatically take you home, because if you've gone to sleep, that's probably the most likely destination where you want to be.
That was with Sandy.
Oh, was Sandy? Yep.
I only caught the part of Clubhouse where he cut that Vlad guy down from running.
Oh yes. Oh no, he didn't cut him down, but he just
he cut him down.
I reckon.
He was kind of like, he was like, so you don't think anything shady is going on? And Vlad's like, no, we shouldn't jump to that conclusion. And he was like, okay.
So Citadel's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah. And then he's like, no, and he's like, no, and he was like, all right. You could hear it in his tone. He was calling BS.
Yeah. But he made for a bloody good interview, I thought.
He did, didn't he?
Asking all the right questions and you know, asking it the right way, and you know.
And he didn't let him like waffle on too much. Like at the beginning, he interrupted him a couple of times when he was trying to like, you know, bang on like a politician or something.
Yeah.
He was like, what was he saying? He's like, you know, hi, I'm the CEO, and I'm like, he was like, we know who you are.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, we know that.
I've not seen either of these yet. I'm really curious.
Cool. Well, one thing that we haven't actually, we sort of obliquely discussed it, was something that happened this morning.
Oh, SN9.
That was pretty cool.
I can't believe they leave the next one on the pad right next to it.
Because, like, you know, the takeoff was pretty specky, and you know, it did all the right things.
It got up to about 10K, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, all of it, this camera is actually.
Continuing on Starship. So reminder, this is a test flight to a 10-kilometer altitude.
You know, and it did the belly flop just perfectly. And you know, it was just looking so awesome.
There sounds something like ominous in your voice, Harold.
I mean, how good's this?
This
cool.
shot is amazing. Yeah.
That's just science fiction.
Flight, we're down beneath 1.5 kilometers. We're preparing to restart 2 engines, flip the vehicle vertical, then transition to 1 engine for the landing burn.
The Roadster's going to have a couple of them.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Just didn't stick the landing, that's all.
That was one big belly flop.
It's, I'm loving this, bringing back the days of the Falcon test landings. So good.
This must have been what the 60s was like.
Well, it was because they were doing I think it was the Titans they were actually stainless steel, and I think they had to be pressurized, because if they weren't, they would just collapse under their own weight.
Yeah,
and one
a few like that.
And
they
realized,
there's a number of them.
Well, they realized there were a few production errors, but they were so rushed. They just tried them anyway, and if they blew up, it sort of didn't matter. So you get all these really spectacular things where they might rise up 1 foot off the launch,
collapse onto itself,
and then just collapse onto itself and blow up into a big fireball. And they do this like almost week in, week out, because, well, it was quicker just to fix the problem on the, the 10th version, and then just run versions 2 to 9 and just see what happens.
Brilliant.
Obviously, I think it's a NASA space flight and
Boca Chica Gal
and Tim Dodd, they've got some spectacular remote camera footage that's a lot closer in, I don't know, 120 FPS.
Yeah, he'll probably have his
4 or
8K
video. It's just amazing. Happily, this test didn't make the news, because I remember when SN8 blew up when it landed, there were news headlines saying that Elon Musk's, I think they said $1 billion rocket blows up on the pad, and it's like,
no, this one made the news. It was on.
Yeah, it was on this morning.
It was, it was on the news tonight. Yeah, on the
okay.
as well. Yeah.
I must have just missed it.
It's really funny though, listening to like one presenter explain it to the other, because one of them was like, "Oh, well, obviously that cost millions of dollars," and the other one was like, "Yeah, but when they get it working, they'll make millions of dollars." And it was like, I really don't think either of you are really getting the whole concept and point of this. That there's something outside of making money that people might want to do.
That's with everything Tesla and SpaceX. They're innovating so fast. People just don't understand what the future is going to be like, and that it's going to be very soon.
But it's not just it's this. I can only see profit as a motive. I don't know. I just find that very sad.
But yeah, we also suffer that with the stock price for Tesla as well, right? Like Tesla does not have to post GAAP profit if they don't want to. It's like to placate traditional investors and commentary and all of these other people so that they can still raise money, because really they'd prefer to put it back into scaling.
Absolutely. That's why Elon
wanted to make profit.
But yeah, they've still got to play the game.
Yeah, they have to play the game a little bit. That's the only reason why they decide to figure out how to post a bit of profit.
But it's amazing that they can still, post a profit when they're building 3 other factories. I mean,
incredible.
It's
really.
Plus all the R&D, and. Yeah.
Is it? With the current price, they could just raise $5 billion at a snap of a finger. Is it really that crazy? They don't have a cash problem.
No.
Well, they're still making profit. I mean,
yeah. It's good for us, right? Because what it means is that we get it, most people don't, which gives us more headroom to buy stock at a lower price. So I'm very happy with the way it's working.
Well, Kathy Wood was absolutely loading up on Tesla below 800 and around the 800 level when it dropped. So she added to ARKK quite a bit and to the other one as well. So
yeah, I've only ever bought 1 share, and I don't know what I'm doing with shares, so I'm probably not the best person to think of when it comes to that.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to open at 876. I think it closed at about 875, 873 last night. So she's up 10% a week.
Harold, is this Texas?
Yes.
Wicked.
Yes. It is wicked. That's actually, I haven't seen this video before. I'm not sure if that's in the morning. It might be first thing in the morning. But they've done so much progress, it's just not funny.
But have a look at Berlin and see how far that's gone.
Well, yes. They've even got the Gigapress.
But I think
wow.
it's the smaller gigapress,
Yes,
Harold.
that is. Yes, no, that's
Yeah,
for Model
not
Y.
the Cybertruck one.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, that's for Model Y. That only does 6,000 tons.
only.
Yeah, of force.
Yeah.
Whereas the Cybertruck one's going to do 8,000 tons. And they're already installing it, and that's one of 3. But Berlin actually has. They actually have.
That's mad.
They have 6, I think.
You're on, guys.
See you,
See you,
Joseph.
Joseph.
Take care.
See you, Joseph.
So, you know, that back in January last year, there was just forest.
Is that Berlin?
That's Berlin
What?
in the snow.
Far out.
It's crazy, eh?
And in fact, there's a guy, his YouTube channel is TESLAIR. So it's like Tesla. And he actually gets his drone and he looks in the windows. Like he's a bit naughty, and he fully puts his drone right up to the windows, and you can see all the shrink wrapped big boxes of equipment. But yeah, there's no doubt. Obviously, Berlin will be producing cars in the next 6 months or
I
so.
used to fly my drone indoors when I was doing real estate video.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah, well, this guy, I'll just pause that for a sec.
I'm looking at it now. Wow.
There's
Holy.
this guy, Tesla. It's just it's just pretty trippy what he does.
It's like flying inside the factory.
Yeah, I'm expecting him to get a cease and desist.
Yeah.
Because he, at
pushing
first
it.
you think, oh yeah, it's pretty tame. He's just doing outside stuff. But then he,
Elon said that
gets
he
right
didn't.
in there.
Oh
and,
shit.
That's actually where the I think that's where the stamping presses are. So if we,
Is it trespassing if you're not touching the ground?
He's taking the piss there.
so that's where the presses are. There's a press there,
Oh wow.
there, and there, and they're already building part of it here, one of them. But he gets right in there.
See, Elon said he didn't have a problem with the drones as long as they kept a decent distance away.
Yeah. This is not okay.
This is on another level.
So it is another level, but looks awesome.
He's gonna ruin it for everyone.
Yeah, well, it's on a Sunday, so there's no one around, but still it is a bit.
Okay.
It's a bit rude still because it is kind of prying. But yeah, I mean, just look at all the rebar. You know, that's a lot of steel in there.
Then again, though, there might be a publicity angle to this. You know, because Tesla does love to keep feeding feeding us with constant info. So it might be in their interests. And if there's no one around.
Yeah, you can see there's no one around.
It could be true.
Well, actually,
I'm surprised. I'm surprised they're not working 7 days a week.
Yeah, I am as well, actually. Yeah.
Germany, a lot of places in Europe, they have, I don't know what you'd call it, progressive, conservative labor laws where you do have a day off. Like everyone sort of has a day off. And I guess
but you can still have a day off. You can just have another shift come in. But
yeah, I think they just figure it, just take one whole day off, just shut the whole place down and work 6 days the rest. Because you know they do that with the trucks. If you're in, I don't think it's all of Europe, but I know Austria and Germany do it, where all the semi-trailer drivers are forbidden from driving on Sunday. So that is their day off. So they're all in the truck stops, all parked up, and they can't drive on that day. But yeah, so Tesla is just wild. So, you know, Gigafactory Berlin will be, you know, 6 months they'll be producing cars, at least release candidates, which is,
That's
you know,
crazy.
pretty awesome. And Gigafactory, you know, Elon did say, that was the earnings report last week, that if they're lucky, they'll have some deliveries of Cybertruck by the end of the year.
Yes, he did say that.
You know, with volume production next year.
What's incredible is they'll be able to reach 1 million deliveries, 1 million production with just Fremont, China, and
well, just those two, I think, isn't it?
Just those two, yeah.
Yeah.
SNX has increased capacity to 100,000 cars, and 3 and Y at Fremont, was that 450,000?
I was going to say 500,000. So yeah,
or something like that. Yeah, I haven't got their quarterly earnings report in front of me, but something like that. Shanghai
It was
is
450 at Shanghai and 500,000 at Fremont, plus 100,000 SNX.
yeah.
Wow.
So there's 1,050,000 without Berlin.
1.05 million was the capacity total.
Yeah, without Berlin, without Texas. And if Berlin comes online in June, July, and, you know, by September, they could be, you know, they could be cranking. They could be at 1,000, 2,000 cars a week or more.
Yeah, I don't get, because Elon said he's expecting about a 50% growth year on year, but everybody's going, well, they did 500,000 this year, they'll do 1 million next year. But Elon was only estimating 750 or a 50% growth.
There's 1 million cars. There's 1 million cars right there, and they're saying that's current.
Yeah, Nigel, where that the reason for that difference there, and the reason why it doesn't make sense, is because of COVID. So they would have been at a high production level had it not been for COVID. So they probably would have been at, you know, I don't know, 750 or something. So going from
installed.
No, Elon's sandbagging.
Yeah. So he is now. But going from 750 to 1 mil, I mean, you know, or from 700 or whatever to 1 mil, that's, you know, below 50%.
See, Berlin, Texas is just it's not even mentioned.
So future product, is that the 25K?
Yes, must be, yes.
Model?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
The Model 2, I think they've colloquially called it. Yeah,
they're going to come up with something. You can't. There's got to be sexier cars, or, you know.
I was going to ask you guys about this. Like, what's the appeal now that you've got, you know, sub 2 second Model S Plaid or Plaid Plus? Like, what's the appeal of the Roadster now?
Oh no, I can see it. I can see it because it's a sports car form factor. So.
But it's going to be even faster than that.
Mm.
And especially because he said below 1.9 for the base model. So below 1.9, so it's probably going to come in at 1.8 or something. And then the Founder series with the coal gas thrusters, I mean, you know, that thing will apparently be able to levitate or do little hops.
Yeah.
So, you know.
It's like approaching the limits.
Well, that's right, because without cold gas thrusters, the limit of physics will dictate that you can't go very much below 2 seconds. Like, well, what's the marginal? It's a bit like world records, isn't it? It's maybe to 2 seconds was hard, but to get to 1.5 seconds will be vastly harder.
But they're going to the top of
Diminishing
that.
returns.
They're going to the top of that quadratic equation where they're just going to start losing traction, so they can't make it go faster.
But will it
But
go?
don't-
Will it do a second 0 to 100 with cold gas thrusters?
That's the good question, isn't it?
Don't forget though that you get much better traction with an electric motor because of the instant torque. You can adjust the traction much faster than you can with an internal combustion engine. So that helps. But don't forget,
it's the coefficient of friction.
True.
That's the issue, because the heavier, the more weight you put on the tire to get more grip, gives you more inertia. That you have
So
to
that's what the
overcome.
thrusters do, right? They're going to create artificial mass just for that launch.
Well, artificial thrust. I mean, the other thing they could do is,
well, it could be both, right? Because you need to get more traction and perhaps more thrust.
Downforce.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's more important.
It's a good point.
Because you leverage that, yes. Because you've
very
got
good point.
unlimited power. The power is immaterial.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you grip the road?
The directional thrust from the gold gas thrusters will be a small fraction of what could be achieved from the motor if they make it heavier artificially.
The other thing is,
I mean, they might be able to point the thrusters at, let's say, a 45-degree angle. So you're getting downforce as well as forward force, or maybe one back, one up, or.
The other thing I need to do is just have toothed tires,
I
onto
love
a toothed
engineering.
tarmac. But then you can't go around corners. The thing is,
supposedly it will handle cornering as well. So it'll try to create an artificial center of gravity to adjust the moment of inertia in the car as well.
Yep.
So that can actually place the moment of inertia outside the vehicle so that it just appears to go around corners, much like in the Enterprise, where there's no inertia, or what do they call it? Inertial dampeners, right? So that's essentially what they'll be creating in real life. They'll be creating inertial dampeners.
They're effectively offsetting centrifugal force.
That's exactly what inertial dampeners are, in principle, right?
oh dear, it's just crazy. But I mean, but the original statement of, if you can get a Plaid Plus S that does 2.1 seconds. Yeah.
Well, that's Formula One territory is between about 1 and 2 seconds, isn't it? Or 1.5, yeah, something like that.
I'm not sure, because I thought that the problem with those was that they were actually very light, and the 0 to 60 or 100 wasn't amazing. Well, I mean, it's still incredible, but until you start getting downforce, there's a limit to how much power you can put down.
Yeah, well,
Anyway.
that makes sense.
You'll have these nice premium cars go onto drag strips with rocket powered dragsters in the future. It'll be stupid.
According to Google, it's a bit disappointing.
Actually,
F1 cars can accelerate from 0 to 100 in approximately 2.6 seconds.
Yeah, there you go.
That's exactly what I just Googled. Yeah, that's exactly what I just got. So 2.6 seconds. Wow. So faster than a Formula One.
You can't, but a Tesla couldn't go around corners like a Formula One because they've got so much downforce that they can actually, if they're in a tunnel, they can actually go upside down in a tunnel.
Maybe with the cold gas thrusters pointing out to the side, they can.
Until they fail.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, apparently F1 cars, because of the downforce, they can, if they go into a tunnel that's spherical, they can just turn and basically drive upside down in the tunnel because of the aerodynamic downforce.
I think one of the things you have to get over when you get into those leagues is you won't make a corner if you go too slow.
Yes, that's what Hammond. Remember Richard Hammond?
Oh, yeah.
He had to go in one of the Formula One cars while they were still at what do you call it, Top Gear, and he couldn't do it because he actually said his mind he couldn't react to brake at that millisecond sort of precision at the end of the corner, at the start of the corner, because like you say, Richard, if he went too slowly, you'd lose it because you'd just fly off because you haven't got the downforce to stick the tires onto the tarmac.
Balls of steel, those guys.
When you see the Singapore, well, Monaco is bad enough, but even Singapore, it's just walls everywhere, concrete wall everywhere, and you're millimeters away from it.
Hey, Harold, I just Googled a bit more about the Formula One cars. So this is what it says. Today's F1 0 to 60 times are exponentially faster than predecessors of even a couple of decades ago. Formula One race cars have been recorded to reach 0 to 60 as fast as 1.6 seconds.
Really? Okay.
However, the typical range for modern day F1 cars is between 2.1 and 2.7 seconds. And then it's got the 2015 Infiniti Red Bull RB11 Formula One race car jets 0 to 60 in only 1.7 seconds.
Cool.
So,
but
yeah, the fastest cars are 0 to 60 are really dragsters.
Yes. Yeah, of course. And they're a special category. I mean, they're elongated. They've got,
it's not a car.
No,
Yeah,
that's not a car. You can't go. You can't drop your kids off to soccer in that thing.
So what was the 0 to 60 there? Just scroll up again.
0.8.
0.8.
Yeah.
But see, that wouldn't be using, petrol. That'd be, jet fuel.
Oh no, it's not. No, that's top fuel. Yeah,
that's top fuel. That's nitromethane and alcohol.
Yeah.
Ethanol.
I like it. I remember years ago, someone said, they do something like 20,000 RPM, but they never actually do that because they're not on for a minute.
Yeah, they never get to there.
Yeah, they only do 2,000 revolutions.
Yeah.
And you know what? And then you got to rebuild them.
Yeah.
Because they rebuild them almost every race.
Look at this R35, 1.4.
Wow.
It's insane.
Jeez.
Street legal.
Street legal, yeah. Oh, look, there's a Saturn 5. That's an interesting one in this list.
That's cool, though. Yeah, that's a good comparison.
So if those cars can do it in 1.5, 1.6, 1.9 seconds, then surely his Roadster will be able to do it in 1.5.
Depends on
the
tires.
That would be interesting.
Well, I reckon it'd be close to 1 second with the thrusters.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I think you're convincing me. You're selling it to me.
What's the share price? You might almost be able to afford it there, Matt.
Yeah.
Oh, unfortunately, I frittered a little bit away on this stupid GME experiment, so I'm not going to share you the details of that.
No, let's not mention that war because that's not going to be pretty.
No,
that's not going to be pretty. Speaking of GME,
which way were you going, Matt?
Let's just say I am about 10 Tesla shares smaller than I was last week.
Oh shit! But which way were you going? Up or down? Long, short?
I wasn't shorting, no. But I had to think about it.
Yeah, even I thought about that. Once they got that high, it's like, well, they've only got one place to go.
Exactly, I thought that.
Oh, dearie me. It's
interesting. The longer I held it, the longer I held the GME, the more principled I became in my mind, like talking to these other people. Like I was really buying into it. And I was like, shit, this really makes a lot of sense. I'm going to try not to swear in the video. But yeah, I was like, wow, I really kind of feel for these people.
What's the best thing that who's the 5th richest dude, old bloke, share trader, Berkshire Hathaway?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. The best thing he ever said was that when people get greedy, I get scared, and when people get scared, I get greedy.
Yeah.
And that's you did the classic mistake there, Matt. You as the price
I
went
was
higher
greedy.
and higher, you got greedier and greedier.
That's it. That's
And
exactly
you should have
right.
gotten scared, and you should have gone, now, mate, now I'm out.
There was a point where I was, you know, about $3 green, and instead of taking it, I didn't. That's a lesson to be learned.
But see, it's what's such a shame, because I really support, and I think it's great, the principle behind the buying. You know, I think it's fantastic. It's, you know, the little guy trying to show Wall Street that, you know, they can outsmart them at their own game. But why do it in a stock like GME? Like, why not do it in Tesla? Why not do it in Bitcoin? Something that
it's because it's the point of showing that it could be done anywhere. Like that was the point, that they could take anything and demonstrate it.
But the problem is you're going to burn most of your supporters, because you know, I mean, unless something incredible happens, and, you know, which is highly unlikely, but Elon, out of the goodness of his heart, comes out and buys all the stores for Tesla merchandise or something out of his own money at an inflated price, you know.
No,
I mean,
he's not going to do that.
I can't even think of anything I can't think of a way that this could end in a good way.
No, it can't.
So,
there is no good way for it to end. But the point is, all of these, what do they call themselves, retards or something on that
degenerates.
channel, degenerates or something, they are happy to lose all their money to make the point.
Yeah.
Or were they all donating a little bit of money to bankrupt the hedge funds that had huge shorting positions?
Well, sure, you can see it like that.
So we're like 1 million people saying we'll donate $100 each to cause the hedge funds to lose billions.
Yeah, sure. If it was only distributed that equally, but sure, you could see it that way.
But I mean, you know what? I'd rather donate that money to World Vision, or, you know, whatever, for climate change research or whatever. But it just seems a bit silly to me to do it, you know, to do it, you know, to be willing to lose money. So that's what I'm saying. You know, you can still make the same point. You can still drive hedge funds under, and you can, you know, if it all goes wrong, you can just sit on the stuff for 5 years, and, you know, if it's something that's got a long-term future, you'll eventually get your money back. So
that's what we're doing with Tesla anyway, right? Elon mentioned it in the video that we've been referring to. When he was talking to Sandy, he was like, they've been the shorters have been attacking Tesla
twice.
Back in 2013, and then from somewhere between 2017 to 2019. Yeah. And I think it's only just escaped last year, right?
I remember I think I got into Tesla, I remember it was about $300 and something US in the pre-split. But the shares just languished at that price for years. Like, it was about 2-3 years. And they even retreated a bit. And it was sort of, they're in this trading range between $200 and $300, or
it was
$250, $350. They just sat there stuck in this trading range.
For 5 years, they had that.
Yeah,
a fairly wide but a fairly narrow band now. But
and it was just this lull, and it's like, and then they sort of went down a little bit because they had issues with the Model 3 ramp and production hell and all that sort of stuff.
But it's always been, you know, in the top 10 most shorted stocks on the market. Yeah.
And it was so lovely to see, you know, not so much it wasn't really a short squeeze. It wasn't an acute short squeeze. I guess it was like a classic tsunami, where
starts off slow.
Tsunami out in the middle of the ocean, you know, is a few millimeters of wave, but when it gets to the shore, that's when it breaks. But it never really broke for Tesla. It just was relentlessly coming in. It was like a very slow high tide. They just kept on inundating slowly and slowly. You know, the shortest.
I heard an interesting explanation for some of the blue chip stocks dropping in the last week, because all of these equity companies that support these apps needed to find a huge amount of capital in short notice. And that happened because these trading platforms had demands from the SEC and the DTC to cover their credit gaps.
Yep.
So they went back to their equity partners and many of them had to liquidate regular blue stock chips in order to find the credit for them. And so it was these institutions liquidating regular blue chip stock that dropped all of the stocks, including Tesla. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that sounds like a good explanation. And so that's picking back up now. But I just thought that was quite interesting to correlate all of those drops.
Well, Robin Hood had to find, what was it?
It was
$3
only
billion.
700 million at the end, right?
Yeah, but it started off as $3 billion.
Yeah, that's nuts, eh?
And the only way that they got to that 700 million is by agreeing to seize the ability to open new positions in the meme stocks. So GME and Co.
Yeah, my platform Stake put holds on buys at the beginning of yesterday's trading.
Who are you with?
Stake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they powered by Drive Wealth underneath. And by the way, Drive Wealth lifted the hold on buys kind of mid-afternoon on the same trading day, which is interesting.
Hmm.
Not that it matters.
But yeah, putting that 3 billion into perspective, that the CEO said that in their whole 7-year history, they only raised $2 billion, the whole company. And then they were asked to come up with 3 billion, overnight. So
that's like a horrendous margin call.
Yeah, well, that's effectively what it is, yeah. And what the problem is that the formula, so in Australia, the formula is transparent, so you can plan for it. Whereas over there, there's parts of it that are transparent, like the VAR, the value at risk, but then there's a discretionary part. And what's quite interesting is that the discretionary part is a multiple. And you know what multiples do to a formula. So
yes, they distort it. Yeah.
Oh, I mean that a 2 times multiple is what is it, 300%? So
yep.
No, 100%. Sorry. Yeah. But yeah. I mean the usual amount that they had to come up with. Sometimes they would obviously get money back. Sometimes they would have to add more money. But the most they would ever have to add was around sort of the 300 million mark. And now it's gone tenfold, And so the CEO got the phone call at 3:30 in the morning. He was waking up and they had to find $3 billion by 10 a.m. So they managed to raise $1 billion during the weekend, which is half as much as during the whole previous 7-year history, but just shows you, yeah. And so then that's why Elon was asking all those questions, because Robinhood gets 40% of its revenue from Citadel, and Citadel bailed out.
That's short.
Yeah, and they also bailed out that what's that other fund that was starting to go under, shorting GME?
ATC.
No.
AMC.
No,
Melbourne Capital.
Melbourne, yeah. And so they bailed them out to help them basically meet, effectively the margin calls on these short positions. So that basically they doubled down on their short on GME by bailing Melbourne out. But the conspiracy theory is, or maybe it's not a conspiracy in that, maybe it's a huge coincidence. But how is it a coincidence that on the same day there's all these brokerages get a tenfold capital requirement. Melbourne gets bailed out. Citadel doubles down on their short position. And
the buyers dry up, and therefore the price plummets. And then when you double your position, then suddenly you're already in front.
Exactly.
It's like, I remember when I was in high school on an old Tandy TRS-80 computer, working out the odds for blackjack, and I worked out if I could just keep doubling, every time you lose, you just double your bet, because then you'll get back that bet that you just lost. And
do that on roulette as well, unless you get zero.
And so you just keep doubling and doubling every time you lose. And when you win, you go back to the start and you keep notching up the stairs and you go down again. And you know, eventually you make like a bit of income.
That's one of the reasons why all the tables have got table limits.
That's dead right, Pete. And that's what I worked out, because that worked out if you could do 10 losing bets in a row, you just keep doubling, that would be fine. But that's precisely like you say, Pete, that casinos have minimum bets and maximum bets.
And
the
a
whole
zero
point
on
is-
the roulette table.
Exactly.
Yes, because
the only place to make money in the casino is when you play against other players, not against the games.
Yeah.
yeah, you know, it's
If
a
you
classic
play,
thing.
if you play Hold'em with other players, you can make money. Everywhere else you lose.
Well, if you count cards and if you're good at that, you can probably.
Yeah,
but remember, they're a little law unto themselves. So it might be a bit painful if you do that in the casino.
Yeah, and what were those? Were they Harvard students? Those
Monte Carlo, where they started. What was that? There was a book on it.
There was a movie as well, right?
There was a movie about it too on Netflix, I think it was.
Oh yes, I know the one with.
Because they had all the different. You have different roles. You have the high roller. You have the fluff.
Yeah.
You have all the whatevers. There's one person counting the cards, another person putting the big bet on. You got the other
Another
person
doing the signals and
yeah. And they got into optical visual recognition and face recognition and stuff back in was this in the 90s? I think they were trying to do this to circumvent it because they figured it was just unfair. And then now the casinos have infinite shoes. So for blackjack, you can't count cards because they used to have 5 decks in a shoe, and they shuffle it, and then so you have to count 5 decks. Now they have unlimited shoes because there's like an unlimited supply of cards that are never recycled, so you can't count them.
Yeah, right.
There's no end. Because the idea was you'd wait for about 4 out of the 5 decks to be played, and once you've counted, you can be very confident what's going to happen in the next few rounds.
Yeah, they bury them under the table and rotate them out of sight, so it really screws with the odds now.
Well, it's effectively complete. It remains random.
Yeah, adds way more entropy than you can kind of manage.
Exactly. Yeah. So, because for some reason the casinos think that it's fair that they fleece you mechanistically, like automatically. But if you dare somehow work out how to make $1 out of it,
this is exactly the whole point of these GME guys on Reddit. This is their point. It's not fair.
Well, it's like if you counterfeit a currency, you go to jail for it. But if the central bank prints it out of thin air, that's called supporting the economy.
Quantitative easing. Love it.
So it's justified because you're supporting the economy. I'd be willing to support the economy as well.
Speaking of supporting the economy, I was watching an episode of Ozark last night, and the little 11-year-old is in the new school. If you haven't seen the show, his family have to launder money for a cartel, and this kid's in the new class in the new school, and the teacher's got these pieces of paper on all of the desks, and it's about drugs and alcohol, and you're signing a pledge. It's a moral exercise, right? You're signing a pledge to say no to drugs and alcohol. And so there's this brilliant scene. The writers did a great job where the teacher comes up to him and she's like, "Oh, you haven't signed it." And he's like, "Well, I'm not sure I completely agree." And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "Well, you wouldn't want me to sign something I didn't completely agree with." And she's like, "Don't you think that drugs are bad?" And he's like, "Well, they've actually propped up the US economy for quite a number of years now." And if you go back to the 2008 and this kid was just like just owning the teacher. And I just thought it was a brilliant piece of writing and filmmaking. I won't spoil the episode for you.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so drugs, huh? Drugs, card counting, and rigged stock market.
Don't do it.
Hey Harold, good luck with the rating on this episode. The YouTube algorithm is going to have you for breakfast.
Because you know how there was a guy. I forget what the channel is, but he's a commercial airline pilot, but he also owns a light aeroplane that he often flies around. And there was that dam in California that failed a couple of years ago that they had to retrofit because it was in danger of completely failing.
Yeah, the one that dug a big hole in the spillway.
Yes, exactly, that one. Yeah. So, so this pilot guy, he would often explain the origins of how certain planes crashed or whatever. And he said that no matter how he tried to frame his video, YouTube would decide to demonetize that video because he said that YouTube's explanation was that it portrayed sad content because it was sad that a plane crashed. And so therefore that might upset some viewers because it had, you know, upsetting themes. So they just decide to demonetize. But of course, I presume they don't decide to yank all the ads during the video.
No.
So YouTube still makes the money out of it. But
just not the creator.
The creator doesn't.
That's just so wrong.
It
was
and
that.
It's automated too, right? So you can't get a human to get involved.
He said he tried to change the title. He tried to change certain parts of his, like he edited the video in a certain way.
To
he said he couldn't work out a way to stop them from demonetizing it because it was describing plane crashes and stuff. So
was that the mentor pilot or the pilot mentor or something like that?
Yes. And he was basically, good one, Nigel. He was basically saying, you know, maybe I should put videos on Patreon because he can't afford to because it takes a lot of effort to do these videos. And he's rightly saying, well, if I'm not going to get paid for it, then what's the point? Well, I can't afford to do it for free. It was just, so thanks, Matt. We're definitely demonetized. And I mean, I know we've got a whole 22 subscribers. Sorry, back in 2021, when this video was recorded, we only had 22 subscribers. You know, when you're watching this in the deep future, we've probably got 22,000 or 22 million subscribers. Once Elon tweets out,
we just need to get Elon to come on the show, and we'll be right.
Look, Elon, tweet out Tokwa rocks. Just do that. It's all good. You know.
Unfortunately, I think
Tokwa.
that a lot of these videos are rated R for rubbish. No. And I think on that point, I'll leave and go to bed.
I think I'm
Damon
as well.
and Joe instead enjoy them in, you know, half-hour chunks. It's all good. But on that note, see, we can't stop. You're free to go, Nigel, because you've been
all right then. I'll bugger off. Goodbye.
But the share price is about to open, so we've got to wait.
We've got 2 minutes.
We've got 2 minutes.
Great. Now you've opened up my trading thing. Thanks for that.
It's okay, Matt, because
stuck to the screen now.
You thought you were going to get some sleep tonight, but you'll be up all night, so don't worry.
It's okay, Matt. We're not inviting you to the next one. You're screwing up our ratings.
In the 1 minute to go, do you mind if I ask a few questions in the live?
Not at all.
Question,
it's all good.
sort of thing? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Well, one thing I had was I was sitting in Albany, a charging thing, and I had my window open, and I was just watching a YouTube on full screen, and then some sort of pretty seedy looking chaps that came over. You got a smoke? You got $2? And I couldn't get my car to do anything because it just took up the screen, and I just couldn't find where to push on the screen. It's just so I couldn't actually do it.
You mean to drive off, like to?
Oh no, I was actually plugged in. So, but I just wanted to,
get off YouTube.
Yeah. So I just it took a while. I can't remember how I actually did it, but Anyway, that was a little problem. The second thing with Albany was.
Hang on, Pete. No, Pete Petrosky might have an answer to that. Can't you do like put your foot on the brake?
Probably, yeah.
Try and put it in gear, and then
might have been what I had to do.
What it would do is it would probably disengage YouTube, but it would then tell you that you can't drive because you're plugged in.
Ding ding ding.
But if it's in YouTube, all you do is just press the screen, and then should bring up the little X, the little cross, and then you can hit that.
I've had the experience Peter's describing. It's so slow on YouTube and the browser and other sandbox apps that it will take many seconds to respond.
Yeah. Anyway, it all worked out at the end, and I didn't give him $2. I didn't give him a smoke, and he left. So, but anyway, that's the first thing. When I went to Albany, it was dark, and I got the charging thing out to plug it in. I could feel his ants coming on my hand, and so foolishly I blew it to blow the ants off, and there's a whole nest of them, and they went all over me. And even my wife found an ant in there the next day, So
inside the car.
Well, no, I blew it outside the car, but they went all over me, and of course I can't see at night. Can't see at night time. They took whatever I could off and shook it all out. I sprayed. I put some sanitizer because there were eggs in the actual when you put down the socket. So I put some sanitizer in there to try and sort of kill and eventually I did find some fly spray, which I sort of hoped it wasn't too conductive, but to try and sort that out. But I just used sanitizer, that's right, which worked, and I had to sort of poke around to sort of to get all of them out, and then I put some on the cable and so on.
So was this your car, or was this at home or in Albany? Sorry, no.
No, this is on the Albany Town Hall charger, and
it's full of ants.
It's on a grassed area, so
yes, yeah.
But let there be a lesson. It's a night time, and you feel an ant on you, don't blow it off. You get a face full of ants. That's the second thing. The what was that? Something else. No, I had something else, but I can't remember what it was. So
that charger doesn't go full speed, does it?
It's sort of 16 amp 3-phase. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, that's full speed.
16 amp 3-phase.
Is it?
Yep.
The actual phasing is just that little very grayed out 3 that comes up next to your charging rate. It's very hard to see, and it's just not. If you didn't see that, you just see 16 amps and you think it's one phase like at home. So, home charger.
I'm going to say good night, guys.
Yep.
Great.
Take care, mate. Cheers. Good to see you.
See you, Richard.
So Pete, what's the share price? It looked a bit green for a moment.
77.
No, not.
Oh no, I've got 71.
It's gone way down, isn't it?
Come back, has it? Oh yeah, it has too. 72. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was on open.
Oh, it's okay. It's pretty close to where it was. So, look, it's at 72.30, so it's bouncing around a bit.
It's another hero there.
Yeah. It's great to see it actually, to be honest, recovering back from post Q4 earnings call and results, because it touched 790 something. So yeah, it's great to see it. Well, this is
785.
This is probably its third or fourth highest intraday at the moment.
Yep.
So yeah, it's all looking good. Cool. Maybe on that note, at this late hour, it's already Damon's probably his third or fourth half-hour cycle or fifth half-hour cycle. Might be a good time to wrap it up. Like I was saying at the intro, it's been a big week of news, for various reasons, and today it ended with a bit of a bang, which is even better. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. For anyone new to this channel, please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. Damon, Joe, Seb, Elon, everyone else, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. And for you guys, thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
Take care, everyone. Cheers. Look after yourselves.
Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
Yeah.